Welcome to another Dangerous Liberty podcast. Hope everybody out there is having a wonderful Wednesday. Welcome all you great Americans and all the people out there that are tuning in from outside of America too. We're glad that I know this is garnering a lot of attention nationally or internationally, and we are going to continue our search for the truth. So just want to make sure that everybody is having a great day and look forward to this discussion with George. George is on the ground. I had reached out to him the other day. And I had talked to him one other time during the Butler, the Trump assassination attempt. And, whatever you think about George, I do think that he is sincere. And I'm looking forward to this discussion. I'm very much looking forward to his thoughts on what's going on. And I'm also looking forward to kind of his thoughts of on the ground perspective. I think it's going to be great. And look, we're going to have folks on here that we don't necessarily agree with on everything, but that's our job, is to bring some different perspectives to our audience. And I think that's what discourse is all about, right? And I think he took the time to go all the way out there. I would love to get out there myself. Maybe that'll happen. Maybe that won't. But I have a lot of respect for what George does. Almost every single one of these events, he goes out and he gets after it, and he is on the ground and finding information that, quite frankly, our media isn't doing. The reason that George exists, the reason I exist, the reason that Marcus and Chris, who I'm going to bring on in just a minute, exist, and many other people out there that are doing great work in social media, is because we no longer have a mainstream media that brings us fact, that is out there on the ground. They learn and they report from their computer screens. So, and they just report whatever they're told to report. So it's great to have people like him, and I'm really appreciative that he's actually coming on the show today. So we'll get after that. Over in the chat, actually, I'm going to give it a few minutes. We'll let everybody jump in and give it a couple more minutes, and then we're going to go over the format of this show. And then we'll also talk about some ground rules for everybody so that we can have an interesting, respectful discussion. And without further ado, first and foremost, I'm going to bring on George, since he is our guest. George, welcome, and thank you very much for coming on the show, man.
Hey, Gary, great finally meeting you and speaking with you directly rather than over the phone and so forth. It was crazy in Butler, and it's crazy here now, so it's great to be here.
Yeah, no, it's great to have you, man. If you will, just take a few minutes and tell everybody. I don't know that much about you, so introduce yourself to me. Give us a little background, how you got into journalism, and just tell the viewers that aren't familiar with you a little bit about yourself. And folks, I have George's X account down in the description below, as well as Chris, Marcus, and all our socials. Make sure you go follow George to keep up with what he's doing there on the ground. So go ahead, George.
Well, retirement age, I'm 65. I've been doing this a long time, almost 10 years now, but I started 35 years in high tech, and I never thought I would be a journalist. I sold software for 20 years, then I sold, hardware and then software for another 20 years. So I was in high tech. I didn't want to go into journalism at all. But I saw this one guy that we had bought his company, Dmitry Alperovich. These were 12 programmers, antivirus programmers from Russia. And they came in and they were supposed to write antivirus software at Network Associates, which McAfee was one of the companies. And all of a sudden, one day I find they're writing the viruses as well for next quarter, so that they'll get into people's computers for next quarter to drive sales for next quarter. This is like starting a fire in order to sell fire insurance. And so I left the company, and Dmitry was a spy. He wrote a backdoor into encrypted messaging software called PGP, Pretty Good Privacy. All that was going to the government intel. And I never thought I'd see Dmitry again. I thought I'd be in high tech the rest of my life and make a lot of money and not get shot at. But all of a sudden I saw the guy who was going to, when the emails came out, the DNC hacking, remember that? Hacking, not the hoax, it was a hack, right? Who was investigating that? Dmitry Alperovich. And this is the guy, this is like having the fox guard the chickens, and with blood all over him, saying, I don't know what happened to chickens, you know? So that's when I got involved. I said, oh, this is a big lie. This whole DNC thing, being hacked. It's all a big lie. And I've really been with it since 2016, since that day. That's when I started broadcasting. I didn't show my face initially. I'm not sure anybody needed to see it, but then a lot of people, when I was just doing slides and just pointing my finger at the slides, people said, well, you're a government agent. You're not showing your face. You're not using your real name. So then I started doing that, and everybody, so you can't please everybody, but I've tried to go after the information as closely as possible in those 9 years. We did a lot of good work. We dropped that Podesta group in 2016. We basically, through the Braverman investigation, kind of put mothballs into the Clinton Global Initiative. If you remember that, Pakistani spying we sent packing to Pakistan and other things. So we've had a lot of successes over the years. People forget those. We just predicted a bombing of Charlie Kirk's event. We were there 5 days before in the exact same spot. They just had a bombing yesterday. So we do pretty good here in our citizen journalism. We've had 52 meetings of a dozen people or more for a dozen days to deep dive various news stories. We call them charrettes or news gathering events. So that's a little bit about me, Gary.
Awesome. Oh, again, thank you, George. Thank you for your work that you've been doing to contribute to information given to the public and everything else you're doing. What I'm going to do right now, I'm going to go ahead and bring on Marcus and Chris. And if you guys will, just very quickly give everybody a 2-sentence or less intro. And if you guys don't know who they are, go to our last show. There's a much longer intro there. But we appreciate them coming on as well. And I think they both contribute a lot. So I wanted to have them on again tonight. Marcus, go ahead.
Gary, thanks for making this happen. Can you hear me all right?
I can, man.
Okay, just checking. So I'm a former Force Recon Marine, Scout Sniper, and just very interested in the truth, wanting to be an independent thinker and attack this from my own perspective, get my own conclusions of what happened, and sharing what I find. And I'm very happy and thankful to people like Gary for making stuff like this happen, bringing people together. And George, I'm looking forward to meeting you.
Chris?
Yeah, double tap on that. Thank you, Gary, for having us on again. Same as Marcus. I'm just trying to gather information to make the best conclusions possible, try to weed through and sift out some of the stuff that just doesn't make sense, at least from my perspective, from my experience. I don't have all the answers, and I don't pretend to. So I'm looking forward to see the discussion points today. Also retired Navy SEAL, so I bring that background, sniper trained, breacher qualified, all that sort of stuff. So
awesome. Well, listen, I'm going to go over the rules of the chats, folks, over there, and it's going to be real simple. Number one, you're going to be respectful to each other and to our guests and to us. If you don't, we're just going to ban you. I mean, it's really as simple as that. You can disagree as strongly as you'd like, as long as it's done respectfully. Excuse me, I welcome disagreement with me and with anybody else. So there's that. As long as we don't type in all caps, that just gets annoying. I don't know. I won't ban you. I won't even put you in timeout for that or have our moderators do that. But you're not going to be seen, so don't type in all caps. The other part of this is we're going to run this like a podcast in that we will definitely talk amongst ourselves. And then at some point, probably 30, 40 minutes from now, we'll open it up to super chats and we'll get to as many. We will prioritize the super chats, but I do want to try to get as many of the live chats in as possible. So with all that being said, George, I kind of want to hear from you, man. I want to hear, I guess first and foremost, what are some things that you learned there on the ground that, I don't know, maybe changed your perspective of things, seeing it in real life? Because I know, like, when I actually went out to Butler for the first time, I knew the distance in my mind, right, when we were talking about where the AGR building was, where Trump was. But I just remember seeing it for the first time, and while I'm very aware of the distance, it seems so much closer. What are some things that you kind of, some things that change your perspective there on the ground as well?
Well, the opposite with me happened is I thought, man, this is a long shot. You know, this 145 yards is a lot longer than I thought it was. You know, I've been to football games, 100 yards. You play golf, you know, what's a wedge? But it just seemed longer. But 145 yards, okay. The other, I guess the other piece to this is just walking it and seeing where the different camera hits were. And I put out another video today of the tunnel camera hit, and then when he's walking up in the parking garage, that camera hit. There's very few camera hits that he had. You may remember he was walking down that 800 street, and there's a camera hit with a TMZ. There's it's a long walk from there, and I've walked it many, many times. I've been here. I've spent a long time here. There's a lot of camera hits going all the way to the low C roof, and the roofs are complicated. They're not all square buildings. They're all like triangular shaped roofs.
Very faceted.
Yeah. Can you still hear me?
Yep. No, I was just saying that the roofs are very faceted.
The roofs are very faceted, and it's very confusing as you go building to building. Even the freshmen who've been here a while are still getting, they're confused. So to me, being on with 3 snipers, I mean, you guys are all, you guys have a lot of experience, and I know this because you don't just walk into a situation on a mission and go, well, we didn't do any prep. You usually have a team. You usually, like you mentioned earlier, Gary, have reconnaissance, right? And you gather as much information as you can about the target, right? And I know I don't want to put you guys in the shoes of Tyler Robinson, but I'm just saying that to me, it seemed like there needed to have some place to bivouac there, camp out while they were doing the Ian, gathering information while they were flying the drone over the location and so forth. That's the number one thing, is it's not an easy assignment. This isn't an easy assignment.
Yeah, no, a lot going on with that entire thing. And I definitely think I think it's very clear at this point. Maybe we'll get more information on this or not. I don't know. But I think it's very clear at this point that that if the alleged shooter is the shooter, there was clearly some reconnaissance taking place, some pre-attack surveillance taking place. How hard were you surprised? Because I was, once I even saw the overhead imagery, what's going on, and then saw some additional video. Were you surprised at how easy it was to get to the roof up there?
Yeah, I did a video with a student, and again, you might disagree with anything, and everybody in the audience might disagree with anything. Just turn the sound down if you hate me. I mean, right? You still have the video. You still have an additional video source. You know what I mean? I'm not doing CGI, so I mean, you can take it in. But I mean, I went to try to find the easiest route. I went through the buildings. I went with a student who knew the buildings, who was a computer science major at that building. He showed me what he felt was the quickest way to the roof. And it's out there on the video. And then he only had to jump a 3-foot, one of those bicycle fences. Remember the Capitol gates,
Yeah.
So that's, and then you could get right to the roof. But the only thing that was true was you're very visible in that climb up those steps, and you're very visible jumping onto that roof. So that's the thing that I kept thinking, is building services was out to lunch big time, especially after Butler, especially after we saw a rooftop shooting in Butler. Not having a mall cop or not having somebody watching the surveillance cameras is really super surprising.
No, I agree with you. I think that we're going to see a major overhaul in the way that personal security is done, period. I think we should have seen that when it came to Trump. What I will say, or at least in my head, I think a lot of these universities and things like that, like when we look at Butler, we're like, oh, this is obvious. And it was, right? There was some major security oversights there. But I think when we're talking about these campuses and things like that, I do think there's a little bit of disconnect. Like, they don't think it's going to happen to them. And I know this from firsthand experience. So I'd actually started a 501c3 built around the idea of security for churches, schools. And I went in front of school after school, in front of church after church, and talked to their security teams, talked to what the changes they need to make. And man, just nobody takes it seriously. People get motivated after one of these shootings for a minute. And then after that, 2-3 weeks later, they're back to the status quo. It's like, oh, it's not going to happen to us though. And they don't want to spend the money. They don't want to spend the time. They don't want to put in the effort to make these changes. And we see it time and time again, whether it's a school, whether it's a church, like all these school shootings, and very little has actually changed for security. And it is so frustrating to me. While it's a shame, I'm not that surprised how lax security was there. That's my personal take on it. But you know, it is what it is on that.
Well, it looked like his in tight security, like around the tent, was pretty strong. I mean, he had guys, you know, reacting like cats, you know, jumping over that table and getting to him and all that, and getting him to the hospital and everything. I thought it was very well done. His inner team, I couldn't believe the team was that good around him, and then leave such a glaring. I mean, I made jokes on my Substack over the last 14 months about how a grandmother with caution tape stops this, or how a kid with a dog, or you know, Paul Blart Mall Cop, or you know, the Walmart greeter. I mean, you just get just one person on the roof can, you know, stops all this and sees this.
Yeah.
The other piece, I think, after having been there and shown I like the complete full flight of the arrow. Like, here's where he turned the corner, and here's where he walked down here, and then he went in this tunnel, and then he went up this parking garage, and then he walked through here, and this is how he got to the shooter location. And we didn't get that. That's the other piece that I came away with. We just got really quick little breadcrumb snapshots, and we're left to try to piece all this together. At the same time, we're trying to process all the stuff happening inside the amphitheater as well. And I'm not sure if it's meant to confuse us with the TMZ quick hits, the quick cam hits, but that's what I'm trying to do here, is say, okay, here's kind of the full flight of the arrow. Here's where he had to go. Here's where he had to walk. And then, you know, you can see it. And then people notice things all the time that you don't think that they're going to notice. And that's where a lot of leads come from.
Now, when you say that TMZ, you don't know if what TMZ was showing, but was meant to confuse. Explain that to me. I guess clarify that a little bit.
Well, like what I did, the street's called 800, and they have these weird streets, 200, 400, 600, 800 for every fifth of a mile.
Mm-hmm.
So the street's actually called 800, West 800. Okay. So first of all, we didn't see the van. I don't know if you remember, he's walking down by the Mormon church downhill, and he's about ready to turn to go toward the school. Right. There's a Mormon church out there, and it's an interesting intersection to start kind of things in your mind, which is it's 800 north intersecting with, I think, 800 south. But that's where you see him. You see I'm sorry, I'm getting a little blip. You see a van stop briefly and kind of check in with him. Seen that video or not?
Yeah, no, I have seen that video. Yeah.
Okay, so that to me says, hey, wait a minute, this looks like a team here. It looks like a team says, I'll pick you up right here after the shooting, or go get them, or whatever. But we didn't see that initially. Then he turns down and he walks down 800. And again, you get just kind of like this one picture of this one ring cam, which is just before he goes into the tunnel. And then there's this big ROTC meeting room up on the hill looking down over the tunnel. And then he goes through the tunnel, and then he walks up. But you don't get the full feel of how far it is walking with that Mauser
right
down your pants leg. It just doesn't. It seems like none of you guys would have done an operation that way. Right? So obvious, right? You would have gone. I mean, I was in the parking lot today. You would have just gone straight into the parking lot and
I have wondered that myself. Like as bold as all of his movements were, I have a hard time understanding why he didn't just park closer. I think that is a logical question to ask. What would you say? From the time that he puts the Mauser in his pants till he's walking around, what do you think that distance actually was?
I think it was about at least 1,000 paces. I mean, I
Okay.
walked it today. It's 1,000 paces, maybe more.
Well, it's under a mile.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's under a mile, but
Yeah.
still, it just seems like a very lubberdly, obvious, like where, the killdeer, they drag their wing, it's
Yeah.
like, I've got a gun. Don't look at the rest of the team. To me, I would have some kind of planned person who was going to take the blame, a Patsy, while I was off somewhere else with the rest of my team. And I've focused on mainly trying to find the other people in the team. I don't think he acted alone. And you had Zeb Boykin on the Marine Sniper. They talked about how it came from the right and back. That's a different shot. People are talking about palm guns and all these other things. That means a second shooter. That means a team. So where are the rest of the people that you can't see versus what the ones you can see is what I'm focused on.
Well, I would say my perspective is I think some of the silly things that he did, like exactly what we're talking about, to me, that almost indicates a lack of coordination, knowledge, or even teamwork, in my opinion. I definitely don't buy into, there's nothing I've seen as far as evidence goes that makes me buy into a shooter. As a matter of fact, and again, we've hit this ad nauseum. I don't see anything that tells me that there was a shooter off his 4 o'clock. I don't believe that. I don't see any physical evidence of that. I haven't seen anything so far, and I'm open to it, and I would love to see additional people on the ground that seem to be providing, material or physical support in any way. That being said, I do think there's more than one person involved with this. And I do think that it's very probable or possible that there was some other people on the ground. I don't think what we're seeing, nothing has indicated to me that it's sophisticated. But who knows? Maybe it's some 4D chess stuff going on that it's so sophisticated. It looks unsophisticated. I just haven't seen that. And, I don't know what to say about that.
Well, can I ask you guys, all snipers, right? That 30-06 from that distance going through the soft tissue and the bullet staying in the body. I think we've been kind of lied to on the bullet staying in the body. And then no autopsy being done. A lot of these things don't, the doctor and then the head of TPUSA comes out and says that the bullet stayed in the body, and we don't have a picture of the bullet. I don't know. Zeb Boykin said, I don't believe that it's possible that kid could have shot that gun from there and have the bullet stay in the body.
I will say that is the biggest mystery in all of this. And I think from there is where a lot of things, it's easy to go from that point. There's a lot of crossroads. There's no doubt about it. I wouldn't say that it's impossible. I would say that it's super, super improbable. I agree with that. Because here's the thing, Zeb doesn't know, and I don't know, and nobody else knows what round he actually used. We don't know what type of round, whether it was, a full metal jacket. We don't know if it was soft nose. We don't know if it was frangible. We don't know the weight of the round. We don't even know the muzzle velocity. I do think that based on potentially, if we go off the audio analysis, and I have somebody working on that right now, I do think that if we go off the audio analysis and we assume that the round came from him, because there's definitely, what we do know is that there is a crack pop. We have audio information that says a round came from that direction. Now, that doesn't prove that it was him. It doesn't prove that there was other rounds flying through the air, which I haven't seen any evidence of that. But I think we could at least get a muzzle velocity. And if we can get a velocity from that audio analysis, then maybe we can have a better idea of what potentially was used. But for anyone to say, I would say anyone that is serious about ballistics, I think for anyone to say that there's no way, given how much we don't know if it was a commercial round. We don't know if it was a hand load. And if we go into the hand load arena, like, I think all bets are off. Like, I can literally hand load around to do pretty much whatever I wanted. I could have that, shoot at 1,000 feet per second, just above supersonic. I do think whatever we saw, it was a supersonic event, because we do have we actually have the ignition of the rifle, and we have a muzzle report, and then we do have sonic booms that are taking place that have been recorded. But I don't know how anybody could say something definitive about that round when we just don't know enough, because everybody else out there is going off, including me, is going off of personal experience shooting a 30-06 with, 150 grain round that is going 2,700 feet per second or more. And yeah, I think that it's unlikely if we went with a standard hunting round, things definitely get more complicated. And the fact that we don't have an exit wound, it's really almost the crux of this entire thing. It's what makes this entire thing the most unbelievable. But maybe the FBI has information on that helps explain it, but I haven't seen that, obviously.
Well, that's what I was about to say, Gary, is the same thing. Like right now, we're assuming what the surgeon said, but the surgeon himself didn't actually come out and say that. You're getting third-party information, so we don't know 100% how accurate that is. And then, George, to your point about the autopsy, Marcus has done some investigation on this and spoke to some of the law enforcement out there. I believe, Marcus, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the medical examiner and the law enforcement for Utah handed the case over to the FBI. And when they do that, FBI is in charge of the autopsy. So I don't think it's fair to say an autopsy has not been done. It just was not done by the Utah State Medical Examiner, which would normally happen by Utah state law in a homicide case. But once the feds took it over, all bets are off. That law goes out the window because now you have the feds involved. So just wanted to hit on those 2 points.
Yep, Marcus, and I have seen some other reports recently that a autopsy has been done. I haven't seen other than that, and we don't know. What did you find out specifically? Did you find any other information on that, Marcus?
I've done some research, and I see a super chat. Someone's talking about Lorraine. Is it Lauren, the mortician? She has a video where she does a really good job explaining the process of what happens to somebody in a homicide case like this, and how there's really no option for an autopsy to be done. And I think what's going on is the FBI.
You mean, hold on, I just want to clarify. You mean there's no option for an autopsy to be done in that there's no option for autopsy not to be done?
Yes, it has to be done. And my understanding from everything I've researched is that it has been done. We just are not going to hear anything from the FBI regarding the case. The only thing we got from the FBI was an effort to find Tyler at the time when he was still on the run. And that's the only information we've got officially from the FBI, specifically to, giving us data points from what they had on him for that purpose. Now, everything else, understandably so, and the more I learn about it, the more I'm seeing is that's just the way it is. We have to wait until the trial is done, he's convicted, and then they will open up the information, the autopsy, what they have, and we have to just wait for that. And then we can have a debate about whether they should make us wait or not. But the more I learn, the more I see that this is not specific to this case. In general, this is how the FBI handles federal cases, and this is how they disseminate information. There's lots of examples of other cases where it's like this as well. So that's my understanding right now. Is it has been done, and we have to wait until the trial elapses.
Gotcha. George, did you want to reply to that?
I'm getting garbled, so could you just summarize that for me, Greg?
Yeah, he said basically that as he understands it, the FBI, that case and the forensics of that case were handed over to the FBI, and that they were indeed conducting a medical exam, an autopsy. And for a case like this, that's kind of standard operating procedure, where they're not going to release a bunch of information on this case until basically the trial. That's the case. That's basically what Marcus said.
Well, I was at the trial, yes, or I guess 2 days ago now, on the Monday hearing, and at least the first event. And it's going to be a long time before we see any information then, because they're not even to the point of the preliminary hearing, which is going to happen on October the 30th.
Yeah.
So I'll just say one thing I saw on one source, and I can't remember which source it is now, but the skin actually being pulled this way, and this being an exit wound here, and the John F. Kennedy wound here, but just a little bit off and to the right. So it looked like an exit wound. It looked like the entry wound for me was the Bobby Kennedy area, but I'm not the ballistics. I mean, I don't have the autopsy. And I think it's odd, just like the Kennedy assassination, we didn't get RFK being shot in the back of the head, 3 inches behind the ear, until Trump recently declassified it. So we didn't know that I remember that live. I'm that old at 68, I was 8 years old. So that was a long time to wait. And we just don't want to wait like that anymore.
And I agree. And look, I agree with you. I think that's our job is that's what I want to do is find out. I don't want to be spoon-fed information. I think what I want to do, and I think everybody's goal here is to find out as much information as possible. I think it's clear, and I hate having to say this, but it's clear that our government has lied to us multiple times. It is clear that we have multiple cases of either the FBI getting it wrong or lying to us directly. So I definitely don't want to promote the idea that anybody should wait for this information to come out. I think we do need to do our own due diligence, just as citizens of this country that is supposed to be a country of, for, and by the people, right? So there's that portion. What I will say, going back to just the ballistics of this, what I will readily admit is, number one, everything about that looks like an entrance wound to me for a bunch of different reasons. But what I will also say is that it is a high-speed, energetic event. And I think I've definitely heard different interpretations of what took place by even other medical professionals and things like that. Chris is here. I've had other doctors that I've talked to that, I know I've heard say that it looks like an entrance wound. I've had, doctors and trauma surgeons email me. What I will say is that every now and then I get somebody that is familiar with trauma in the comments or something like that and say, hey, this looks like an exit wound. The fact is that so much happens so fast that it is very difficult to see what's going on. I think that we see an energy transfer that's very clearly to me from the 12 o'clock, but that's my take on it. And I think without like extremely high speed cameras to see what's really going on, which we obviously don't have and didn't have, it's difficult to say. And I think it only makes sense for other people with other perspectives. Not only other perspectives, does it make sense for them too? If you think that an entrance wound was in the back of the head and that was an exit wound, you have a duty and responsibility to research that, investigate that as much as you possibly can, because there was definitely things that I found that I know for a fact. I don't know if it was lies or just missteps or just inaccuracies when it came to the Butler thing. So as much as it is, we're trying to hold the FBI and our government accountable, we're also there to make sure that they're doing their due diligence, because they also have not a perfect track record on that as well.
Okay, well, that's awesome. And I was just wondering if we could pivot to what, after the event, and trying to get the trail of we know he supposedly surrenders or kind of surrenders Tyler Robinson the next day on the 11th. So he has to get back from the shooting
Right.
to from the shooting event. And Candace Owen put out the thing at Dairy Queen. I went to that Dairy Queen twice. I filmed there twice. I seem to be the only person who's filming it. I went and looked at all the cameras. They said he drove a gray Dodge Challenger back home. I'm looking for camera hits from any of the businesses along there in that place. And again, if people don't want my video, they don't have to watch it, but I'm going and trying to identify, burning shoe leather, talking, knocking on doors, seeing if somebody has the camera to show that the gray Dodge Challenger was in that place. And the only other place that I can identify where they're tearing shit up and tearing cameras off the wall and looking like they're covering shit up is not at that Dairy Queen. That Dairy Queen's still doing business just fine. And I don't understand why Kash Patel didn't just come in once Candace put out that picture of Tyler Robinson supposedly at that Dairy Queen at 638. I don't see why they didn't just go in with 100 agents and then get every piece of camera that they could to get him in that Dodge Challenger or whatever. If he was on foot, get him on foot. And when I see people destroying shit, I was there with Ian, 2 days ago. They were putting all kinds of new, concrete in and new paper tiles and new ceiling tiles and everything you can think of, moving the planters and all this sort of thing. So when I see stuff being destroyed and evidence being destroyed, it kind of like draws me in. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there because people have given me all kinds of shit for going to both Dairy Queens rather than just one. We had some information that it was both, but I want to just tell everybody, I've been there twice filming. I've been there about 10 times not filming and knocking on doors trying to get film. So again, I don't know why that makes me a bad person. I don't know how that makes me a government agent. I make $8 a month on paid Substack. I've never worked for a government. I've never been like you guys serving my country. Thanks for your service. So I just wanted to get that out there because I see the chat and just a huge hate fest. And I'm like, why? Yeah, I'm the guy who is showing the film and saying, here are the camera locations. Why? I don't understand it.
While our moderators have no control over Marcus's chat, again, if you're not respectful in our chat, you're going to get banned. That's just the way it is. There's no need for that. But you're right. Look, we get the same hate. No matter, look, at the end of the day, this is the most thankless job. Everybody thinks we're just making like millions off of YouTube. Like it's ridiculous. For me, doing the business that I am, like every amount of time that I'm spending on this is an opportunity lost for my real job, the thing that actually pays the bills. So I understand that and I can appreciate that. And yeah, you're going to be called feds no matter what you do. Like I'm just tired of even trying to make anybody happy. I just realized that and I was more prepared. I wasn't prepared for that during Butler. I am prepared for it now. And I'm going to get on here. I don't care if there's 2 people watching or 1 million people. You're going to get the same story from me because this is more about me. I don't know, flushing out my own curiosity and trying to figure this out for myself than it is for views, likes, or clicks or anything else. And, I will say, I think it's very obvious when people are not sincere in this line of work because it's very obvious the content they put out. And it's the most bombastic, I don't know, sensationalism. That's what sells. And I have a perfect recipe. If I wanted to get 10 million views on every video, I could do that. And it's a very easy thing to do. And there's definitely people taking advantage of that. Let me ask you this, George, without, again, just like me and you talking from your perspective, without any influence about what I think or disagree with you or anybody else disagrees with you, like what's your initial thoughts on what did happen?
Well, I think it was a team. I don't think it was a lone shooter. The reason I think it's a team is because the Discord messages, Kash Patel said there was Discord messages in between the team. JD Vance said there were Discord messages. Discord came out and said there weren't any messages. JD Vance came out and said, yes, there were. So when I see messages going back and forth, just like if you 3 guys were the team and I saw messages between you all about this location and this time, I'd say, hey, there's probably a team. So that's the number one thing I am concentrating on. There's this group called Armed Queers that he is talking to, right? And with the Discord messages, Tyler is talking to Armed Queers, and Armed Queers, Tyler's in jail. So he didn't do the bombing yesterday at the Charlie Kirk event, right? At Utah State. I was there at Utah State 5 days before. So somebody else had to do that bombing. They're trying to make sure that the Charlie Kirk folks and people on the right fear going out. They fear getting shot. They fear a bomb exploding, right? This is to make sure that the overwhelming, rush for Trump and the good feeling about patriotism and the Constitution and all these things, that it's taking your life into your own hands, right? When you're going to go out and talk. That they canceled the event yesterday in Logan because of the bombing at Utah State. So, I don't think Tyler did that one. I think it is this group that is armed. They're going out and training and shooting. They're learning how to make bombs. It's a group that's been getting support from NGOs, Soros type NGOs, from the State Department, from Utah Diplomacy Group, the Global Diplomacy, UGD. It seems like one of these Soros Antifa type groups that is being used as the excuse. And if they shoot somebody and kill somebody, it's because you made them mad on their dignity index. They have this thing called the dignity index, and the governor's pushing this dignity index. So I didn't shoot you because you said something pro-Trump or you said something anti-immigration or whatever. I shot you because you pegged my dignity index, right? And I just think, I'm old enough to remember the college protests in Vietnam War, right? I think it's just another way of keeping the anti-war protesters at bay by just saying, I remember Kent State, my brother coming home from Kent State. It's a way of just saying, okay, if you're going to protest, we're going to shoot you. And that keeps the crowds down. So I'll leave it. That's what I think right now is I think it's a counterinsurgency group to keep protests down.
So, there's a lot of statements out there, people saying that, Tyler wasn't involved at all. Which it sounds like, but I just want to make sure that we're representing what you're saying correctly. Sounds like you believe he was involved. You just think that there was a lot more people involved as well.
Yeah, I think it was kind of like, I don't know if you remember Vietnam War, they had these trainers like you guys, kind of guys, which would be, you're training the indigenous to do all the stuff. Yeah. And General Dynamics had these trainers in Vietnam in '63. It's the same idea. Is Tyler has in an 8-year program, 4 years in ROTC. Okay, we went through all that. We show him shooting an anti-tank 4, an AT-4 rocket launcher. That's not usually found at your local Paramount Tactical shooting range. I don't think. You got to kind of go to
the right price. We could make it happen, folks.
You can do a demolition ranch too, right? I'm sure you could, Gary. I mean, you guys are awesome, but I'm just saying, you usually have to go to and you got a lot of stuff going on there with Tyler. It seems like he flies home. We can't get any hits on the Ray Dodge Challenger going back to St. George. There's a ton of flock cameras between here and there, 3 hours. We have the state troopers and the local police all looking. They have license plate readers. ALPRs also are doing checks. We never had an APB out on the Gray Challenger. So how did it get back there? So the only thing, I like Candace. I want Candace to be successful in her endeavors. And I'm just going to try to add to what she's already put out there, which is here's a timestamp with a guy at 6:38. And I'm saying, okay, well, here's all these other cameras in this lot. Let's see if we can, connect the dots for how he got back to St. George. So that's where I've been. And I've been sort of out of the amphitheater and worrying about how did he get in and how did he get out?
So it also sounds like to me, like you don't think that Tyler was the one that actually took the shot. Is that what you believe?
Well, I believe that's going to be their defense. Again, I go back to what Candace Owens seems to be getting the breadcrumbs, and they seem to be saying he never set foot on campus, and they can prove it. So I'm looking at where would you? Let's say you're like you guys are doing border operations, right?
Sure.
Central America was like this, and so forth. Honduras and Nicaragua. You have kind of your forward operating base, but it's not in enemy territory. It's right on the border. And then you fly your drone missions for your border operations and so forth. And I think that's sort of the role that Tyler plays here is as a drone guy like Crooks did in Butler. But you got to train the team. You got to do your reconnaissance. You got to do your chalk talks. You see the chalk here in the back. You got to plan your distractions.
Sure. It's just
No.
it's basic mission planning. But let me, like, that's the thing that I can't wrap my head around. And maybe I'm looking at this from too much of an unconventional standpoint. Like, I don't so can we agree that there was somebody on the roof at the alleged location where we're saying Tyler was? Do you believe that?
Oh yeah, I
Okay.
think they fired a round, and a triggering round that was a 30-06 type sound wave, because we have the sound analysis, Smartsky and so forth, and various other folks have looked at the sound wave, and it was certainly a 30-06 sound.
So can I ask a question real quick, Gary?
Yeah, jump in there. Go ahead.
I've been curious about this since we started, but since you've been there, and neither of the three of us have, how easily could someone get onto any of the other roofs that people have suggested maybe there was a second shooter? I know that the access to that roof was easy, because you've walked it. Other people have walked it and videoed it, but is it that easy to get on any of the other roofs? That's my question.
Did you hear that, George?
No, please repeat. I'm getting all
He was asking. He said he knew. Obviously, we know that it was pretty easy to get on the roof where supposedly Tyler took that shot. There's other people out there. We talked a little bit about Peak Prosperity's theory of another shooter on a different roof. He's asking, are the other rooftops as easily accessible as the roof that Tyler was on or somebody was on?
Yeah, they're all pretty accessible. I know Chris Martinson had said like 20 degrees and a 20-degree elevation. I talked to a kid who witnessed it from that elevation on that would have been right below where Chris Martinson said at Peak Prosperity. And he said the shot came from back and to the left. Okay. And I have that interview out there on my YouTube. Real quick, so is accessible.
Just so that we're oriented on that. When you say it came, when you're saying that he said that it came from back and to the left, where is he describing? Because I'm not sure where he is. I don't understand the direction.
I'll try to do it in Army talk, right? Which is Charlie's, instead of the shot coming from Charlie's 12 o'clock,
right?
Chris Martinson saying the shot came from more like Charlie's 10 o'clock.
Yep. I'm tracking that.
Okay. So I interviewed a kid at Charlie's 10 o'clock, and he said it was back into the right, which would have placed it at sort of the 12 o'clock position. But he said there was a lot of reverberation because of the concrete and all the walls and so forth. But he thought it was back into the left.
So basically at least to some degree, his witness testimony is basically that it kind of corroborates where Tyler's alleged location was.
Yes.
Okay. That's clear. Got it.
Yeah. And I just think any investigation, you don't have to give away the whole farm with the FBI, with the autopsy and all these things. But if you remember for the Kennedy thing, they were holding up the Malincher Carcano an hour or 2 hours after the thing, right? They were parading Oswald through a couple hours after the shooting. They had all decided, this was going to be the Patsy that did it. And of course, we see the Zapruder film 14 years later. I remember when Geraldo Rivera first aired it. And for this isn't the same thing. All the generation here saw it live. So it's going to be viscerally impacted in this generation, especially these kids, for the rest of their lives. They didn't, and I don't want to wait 14 years for this forensic evidence, so
I don't
so that's why we're here, and we're trying to get as many cameras and like you said before, with perspectives, and you get as many perspectives as you can. That's when the truth really starts coming out, because you can kind of make too much keyhole assumptions just from one perspective.
Well, you can verify assumptions. You can kind of confirm or deny information to where you're weeding some things out and you're confirming others, and then you're kind of left with what's plausible. And I think that's definitely my intent for sure, regardless of it following a narrative or anything else. So if we, like right now, based on what basically what you're saying is that, essentially whoever took that shot from Tyler's location, and it sounds like you don't believe that that person on that roof was Tyler. Is that what I gather?
Yeah, I don't believe that, because Tyler had this wine-colored shirt on, and the other guy had the Black Eagle thing. It didn't look like him. Cash Patel said that the FBI had enhanced the photo to make it look more like Tyler Robinson. Everything that was originally put out about the father turning the kid in has been recanted. They said no.
Is that official? Like, I've heard people say that. I hear that in the internet rumor world, and I know Candace has said that. I have some problems with the way that Candace is delivering information, but do we have any official statement on that from anywhere?
I'm going on Candace. I do know that he wasn't booked into the Washington County Jail when he was arrested, and that's not how the law enforcement works. They don't. They book you right away and they cuff you right away. Investigative journalism, you're going to get arrested, right? So, so they transfer him directly to the Utah County Jail without booking him, and that's very odd. If he turned himself in, he would have been fingerprinted. He would have had his mugshot taken. He would have been in a holding tank. Then somebody would have came and got him. There would be paperwork associated when they do a transfer from one jail to another. None of that happened. So the metadata of what she's saying is supported, that he came here directly. I'm right next to the jail. He came here directly to be booked for the first time. And that mugshot was taken not in Washington County. That mugshot was taken here in Utah County.
That is odd. I agree with that. Yeah,
I'm just saying,
I guess my problem with Candace is the fact that I'm fine with anonymous sources, right? But what we typically see with anonymous sources is we see some sort of proof, and I haven't seen that. And I love Candace, but I do feel like, I don't know. I just don't feel like right now her story isn't believable, because the same thing that she's asking the FBI, her battle cry is like, we need proof, but yet she's not expecting to back up what she's stating with any proof. And what I mean by that is, it's fine if you have anonymous sources, but what's not fine is not giving us some sort of, I don't know, she's reported a lot on TPUSA. So like, we should see some text messages. Why don't we have those? We should see some emails that these people that are reporting are forwarding to her. And I don't know. I'm a little skeptical of some of the information, and I don't know why we would expect less of Candace Owens than we do the FBI, who's actually putting together an investigation. That's my only problem with Candace, and I like her, and I think she's been a truth teller in the past. I don't like being kind of strung along, and again, she's guilty of the exact same thing that everyone is outraged that the FBI is not doing, and that is providing evidence for what she's saying. I'll kind of leave it at that. I would love to have her on. I'd love to talk to her, even if I'd love to have her on and just talk to her on, if I just talk to her on the phone and kind of pick her brain, and maybe there's a legitimate reason for all that. Again, we need proof, just like we expect proof from the FBI.
Well, she's going to break another story tonight in about 5 minutes, that Tyler Robinson was with a woman, and seen with a woman on the day of the shooting. And again, I've said it's Ermaya leading this armed queers group. That's the natural person. If I'm trying to get armed queers to kill Charlie, I got to talk to the leader of the group. Ermaya Panayan is the leader of that group. She's the one who has pink pistols. She's seen with all these AK-47s and all these different sniper weapons and so forth. Or assault weapons.
So where is Candace saying, and I maybe we'll have to wait for the story, but where is Candace saying that these pictures are taken of Tyler with this woman?
I think she teased her show tonight at 9. So I'm not trying to get everybody to go over that show. But I'm
going to go watch it. I want to hear it. I want to see it.
Yeah. I think she's got a source.
Don't leave this stream for that. Okay. It'll post later.
It'll post later. But I think somebody has to drive the van, right? Somebody that meets with him at that 800 intersection. This is why I keep going back to the crazy eights, the 800. that van stops there for a second to do an eye check or a gut check or whatever it was. It does stop there. And maybe the van was just a person driving by going, hey, do you need help? You look like you're limping. I don't know. Could be just that. It could be a white rabbit. But my point is that she has this person who says that he was filmed with a girl. Let's see the picture. It's like all these things as the leads break and I'm here, I run these things down. I shoot leather these things down. I don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
I want people to, like somebody said something about 683 on the street they call West 925, which is where the gun was dumped. And they've seen it from the back, right? But they want to see it from the front. So I go film the front of it and show how close it was to everything else. That's the idea here is with the Dairy Queen. You could only see him in one little drop, right? Where he's ordering something from Dairy Queen. So I go outside and say, where are the other cameras? That's what I try to do is add to the story, not detract.
When you went into that Dairy Queen, was that Superman like stand and all that stuff still there? No, it was gone.
No, it was supposedly a 90-day promotion, started July 1st, and it was just ending and while supplies last kind of thing. I've seen some other ones where they go ahead, Chris. I mean, Marcus.
A question for you, George. Do you think the messages, the text message chat between Tyler and his boyfriend is do you think that's all fabricated or do you think that's real? Do you have any opinion about that?
I think it's all fake. Who says
why do you think it's fake?
No, but the kids don't talk to each other like that, you know. Go ahead.
Well, that's do you have more reasons than kids don't talk like that?
Well, also the phone was in the Washington County Sheriff's Office for 2 hours under the control of someone else before he was arrested in Utah County. So I can create any narrative, you know.
The context
wasn't under his control all the time. That's what I'm saying.
Gotcha. But the conversation is about an event, the events before that, while he was still on the run, basically doxing himself, right? You're saying that they could have fabricate that, but nothing other than just speculation points to that.
Right. If those, and by the way, the prosecution is building their whole case on these text messages, right? So if they can prove that somebody else typed that stuff in, if they can prove that Tyler didn't have access to his phone in those 2 hours that he was in the holding tank or in the detention area in Washington County in St. George, and somebody else had access to the phone, you notice they didn't put out any timestamps on any of those messages when they put them out. They put out the day that they came out, but they didn't put out the timestamps.
Yes.
And, I'm Tyler, whoever, Robinson, good afternoon, lover, and then hi, Tyler, so-and-so Robinson. Remember to call me by my personal pronouns. It's like, oh, geez.
Well, to me, it's not that weird, to be honest. And I'm much closer. I'm the youngest one in this group, so I'm 32, and I grew up I'm 10 years behind this guy, and I can imagine, and I know the generation that's that age, basement dwellers. They learn a lot of their vocabulary by playing, time dated games, like games that happen, in the past, and they get a lot of vocabulary from movies, timepieces, games, and when you're young, there's a desire to feel more mature by speaking in a way that feels like older than you are, and I get the vibe that he is that kind of intellectual type where he's overthinking, leading him to speak in a way that, and maybe this is, love is a very powerful thing, especially for a young kid. And I mean, this is an interesting conversation, but I think it's important is getting into the psychology, right? Is love is a determiner, especially for men to take extreme action. And if this was his first lover and it happened to be a queer and he grew up in a very conservative house, now he's this black sheep and he's battling with his identity for the first time, and now he gets welcomed into this armed queer group, and he has a chance to show his new loyalty to this new family, and he thinks, this is the first person I've ever felt this love for, and now maybe Charlie Kirk is threatening to that, and I have a chance to do something about it. and maybe I can get away with this, or maybe just blinded by love. You know, when you got those rose tinted glasses on, we all do stupid stuff. This is my thinking, and so it's obviously we're just speculating, right? But I think since you're giving one counterpoint, this is how I'm rationalizing it, getting to a different conclusion. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
What I would say, George, so we're saying that the phone is in the possession of law enforcement, though, right? I mean, do you think that? I mean, I don't know of any case. I'm sure there are some, because look, we know. Look, I am very critical of law enforcement in a lot of different areas. I think that we could do a whole podcast on what I think about law enforcement and some of the things that they do incorrectly when it comes to upholding and defending the Constitution, and how they put the idea of putting bad guys away over that. I think there's a real problem with that. With that being said, though, we do have that phone in official custody. I mean, that would meet the standards for chain of custody. I don't know. I mean, well, I guess the insinuation here is that we would have law enforcement that is in on this thing of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and then somehow tied to, is the law enforcement somehow tied to, this queers with guns or whatever group? Or are we saying that this is just potentially, hey, we want to close the case on this as quickly as possible? I'm trying to understand that angle.
Okay, let me explain. I don't think it's law enforcement that's in on this. I don't think they're in on it at all. But I do think the person who turned him in was a longtime deputy sheriff. And I think it's going to end up being Matt Robinson. They've covered up his involvement with Washington County. But whoever it was involved a long time with law enforcement. But he's retired. Okay, so he can go in while he's got the phone and while we're all sitting here in Washington County, in St. George, not here. He can type whatever he wants, right? He knows that if he types a false confession and somebody is breaking the chain of custody, to your point, if somebody's breaking the chain of custody and creating all kinds of a fantasy world with this Twigs guy, right? And that later turns out not to be true. And it later turns out to be that he did not have that phone in his possession. He's exonerated. So I'm just saying that this period of time when and remember also, he's a murder suspect for the most high profile murder in the United States, as far as a visual murder ever in our history, ever in our lives, right? And he's negotiating with the sheriff saying, hey, when do you want me to come in? I kind of want to work some things in, organize my baseball cards before I come in. He's negotiating with the sheriff, right? Who does that in a murder case? No, normally what happens is you get swatted and you get handcuffed and you get dragged off. So this person who is this intermediary that gets involved is the one who says, well, hey, you're going to get arrested. It's going to be SWAT, this ex-deputy sheriff for Washington County. So let's just go in. It's going to be better for you if you just turn yourself in. Okay, so you should turn yourself in. So that's the person we don't know the name of. That's the story we don't have. And again, Kash Patel, I say, come out here, do Mississippi burning and have 150 agents and get all these details. And what the American people want is a timeline, 1, 2, 3, 652, 658, 712, that they want a minute by minute timeline of how this all thing. And what we've got now is just kind of this splotchy, we're seeing 1 second of a movie and then we're seeing another second of the movie about 20 minutes later. We're trying to figure out the Godfather. Why did he call him? Why did he shoot him if he was Fredo and he loved him? It's just kind of like, I think that's where we need to go, is in a complete movie of what actually happened before, during, and after. Go ahead, Mark.
I have a question for you. Based on your perspective, I find it super interesting because in many ways, I think you're analyzing it and going down like a intellectual path that's very different than mine. So based on what you found, do you think Tyler, and this is just speculation, I'm just asking you to completely speculate, do you think Tyler would have known he was a patsy or unaware of what he was being set up for to do?
I think it's an Air Force ROTC team. I think it's a team just like they hired the Symbionese Liberation Army to knock down people who didn't want to do the Vietnam War, and then go back to all the way to 1968 in Los Angeles, where they hired these teams, these chaos teams, to go in and disrupt college campuses, put LSD on, food, and go ahead.
It's that, those are very complicated networks and but as an individual dying for something, if he gets convicted and they say, okay, you're going to get the death penalty, do you think he would have accepted that fate before he signed up for this? Or would he say, wait, I didn't think I was going to die. I was told this and this and this. Let me spill all the beans on everybody. I think I'm looking at a character that, because I've served with people who have strong character. I know somebody that you can just feel it from them. They will die to save their brothers. They will go into that room no matter how many guns are in that door. And I know, I like to believe I know what that is.
I just want to say, conversely, we all know guys that joined the military that thought it was all going to be all fun and games.
Yes,
and then when shit hits the fan, they're like, "Bro, I want to go. I want to go do something else. I want to go back to the house and play video games."
Exactly, and this is what I think. I find Tyler to be a weak, evil person. I think evil people are selfish. I think evil people, when they're faced with their own mortality and actually dying for their actions, they crack. And I expect. It's hard for me to believe that he would have, had the moral strength and the fiber of character to sign up for this death mission, and then just go out for a hero for his clan, without saying a peep.
Let me ask you this real quick, George. Are you aware of any links between the Queers with Guns and the ROTC program outside of just Tyler?
Well, I think it's got state's sponsorship. It's got State Department funding. It's got this kind of cutout state diplomacy called Utah Global Diplomacy. She's been Ermaya, the gal who is the head of this Armed Queers. They recruit on the state capitol steps. So she's pictured. He is pictured with Senator Warren Pocahontas. So there's a lot of backing here. It's not just she's involved with all these Soros NGOs. There's a billionaire, Singham, who's a billionaire backer of hers. So it's not like she's just started a little group over here. They have this John Brown gun club that are in all the locations where Antifa is. So like I say, when I see it like popping up like Dairy Queen franchises all over, that's when I say, hey, there's Warren Buffett behind all this, right? There's a structure, there's a corporate structure to this, and to me, this feels very much.
I don't doubt any of that. I guess I'm just trying to wrap my head around the idea of, like, I still don't. If Tyler never stepped foot on campus, I still don't understand his role. Are we saying that it wasn't Tyler that was limping through the neighborhood, or that was him? Or is that somebody different?
I think it was somebody who was sort of the Patsy with the black shirt and the eagle. It didn't look like Tyler. If I was Tyler's father, I wouldn't say that's my son. I wouldn't turn him in because of that. We were in St. George, by the way. I just want to mention this for people who are the detractors. We're in St. George saying on my right hand here is the airport. This is on the 10th, the day he was shot. Okay. And on the left here is where this ATF rogue group is. Okay, so I published that film the day of the shooting. Sure. So we're expecting Tyler to come back on the second flight. Okay, so that may have disrupted things a little bit. Cash Patel was on stage the next day saying, we have no idea who the shooter is. And then he turned himself in later that night. So I think you have to look at, first of all, to Marcus's point, I do think it's a weak kid who's had a coddled existence where his dad's, every time he's done something wrong, his dad has made it okay and made it go away. I think his dad was in law enforcement in that county and made everything go away. And I don't think he's the kind of guy as you guys are. My dad was in Guadalcanal, Bougainville, for 3 years. There's a different breed of cat, than this kid. He's going to probably wilt under the pressure.
If we go with that, if we extrapolate from there, right? Then we should expect, if this was a conspiracy, if this was backed by very powerful people, maybe perhaps the most powerful people, are they going to let him squeal on them? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
If he mysteriously dies in his cell, I think that is the most concrete evidence that this is, in fact, goes deep, without a peep, like an Epstein. If he lives all the way up until they put that poison in his vein, I think I'm looking for that. I think he's not just going to go out not squeaking. Weak people don't do that. They they bring people down with them, especially people like this. I would expect that. So those are obviously, this hasn't happened yet, but I'm just letting you know that's kind of what I'm looking for. Is I'm locked in on his reaction or actions depending on what happens to him.
I agree. I think he thinks, oh, my dad, ex-deputy sheriff, and et cetera. We're gonna, for instance, the gun that gets introduced, which is Grandpa's gun. It doesn't. Of course, it has his DNA on it. Of course, the screwdriver, when he's working with the scope on the Grandpa's gun, has his DNA. Of course, the towel has his DNA. But the thing is, you got to link that gun to the round that with the bullet in order to make it a murder weapon. Right now, it's Grandpa's gun. And introducing that into evidence, right before, how did that get introduced into evidence? Was there an FBI raid that got that to the point of Gary? Where was the chain of evidence there, right? Did they bring that gun with them, and introduce this false weapon? So you got to look at all these things. I don't know the answer to that question, by the way. Normally, when they enter stuff into evidence, there's an evidence tag and an evidence locker, and then they put it in. Did they put it in Washington County? I don't think so, because they didn't have a case to book it to. So all these things, like, I don't like
would it be even possible that we could know this stuff at this point? All this stuff is leaked, right? Because they're sheltering all their evidence for the to in due process. They have zero incentive as an organization, as a professional organization, to let this stuff out yet preemptively, right?
Well, I think that Kash Patel, who I'm supporting and I'm trying to help be successful, right? He was going to change things. Trump was going to put out the Epstein files. They were going to put out all these JFK files and RFK files and all that stuff. And we were going to have transparency. I see him use the transparency word all the time. So when they get up in the Department of Justice and they get the timeline and reader board, why they're doing the indictment, what's the probable cause affidavit, they normally walk through all this stuff, right? They normally do a timeline and they walk through all this stuff. And what we've got right now is coming from a retired deputy sheriff in Washington County as our evidence base, right? But not with the chain of custody.
Because we have an ongoing case that's not, there's no conviction yet, they legally probably can't do anything that could possibly perceive or change the perception of the public one way or another based on releasing evidence, right?
So they don't taint any jurors.
They have to keep it all under locks, right? And also, George, do you know how the picture of the rifle did get released? Was it a leak along with, was it Steve Crowler's source who got also the etching on the case information? I forgot if it wasn't him, so don't quote me on that. But you know what I'm talking about, George?
No, I don't know that. What was the name again? Sorry.
So,
Steve Crowder. He's basically asking where we don't know where that rifle picture was leaked from. I mean, it's speculated that, or it's been reported that it came from the ATF.
But there was a leak that was the etchings on the case on the rounds. That was never supposed to come out. That was leaked out, I believe, from an inside source. And then I'm asking if you know if that also came along with the rifle picture.
Well, I think it's like the introduction of the evidence. It has a quizzical beginnings that we can't answer, where this isn't how it's done when there's a real case. There's a real case officer. I worked at a partner. It was a female cop that worked with me every day. You you go to the Sally Port, they bring them in, you fingerprint them, you take the mug shot. There's a case, there's a prisoner number assigned, all these things. And then all the evidence that is accumulated in plastic bags with an evidence tag on it is logged into an evidence locker, and it's tied to that case of that, individual, right? None of that. Where is that evidence trail? This isn't spoiling the case. In your probable cause document, when they went through and said what their evidence was, and the lead prosecutor said, here's all the text messages, he read them all out in court. I was there, right? So they did choose to put in a probable cause affidavit the things they chose, rather than the more hard evidence, which was, okay, here's how we got the rifle. We went and executed a search at such and such time. It was entered into the evidence locker at such and such time. None of that exists. And again, if I'm Kash Patel and this is a friend of mine is murdered and it's super high profile, I want to go to that location to St. George and find out all these details. Because the American people want to know, you want to know, I want to know, Gary wants to know, Chris wants to know, and I think that's just a big black hole right now.
Hey, folks, and just so everybody is aware, tomorrow we are going to have FBI whistleblower Kyle Seraphin on. He's going to talk about kind of he's a former FBI agent. He's led many investigations. We'll talk about what he thinks is norm versus not norm, all those other things. So I think that will be an interesting discussion and definitely be educational for me and everybody else out there. George,
real quick, Gary, can I ask
go ahead,
a question regarding the screwdriver? And any of you guys correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding was the screwdriver was found on the roof, correct?
That's what I've heard as far as reporting. Anybody heard anything different?
Yeah, Kash Patel, I believe, said that live to the media in the beginning.
Could you repeat that?
Real quick, Chris, because George is having a hard time hearing you. He's got that Utah internet, like I got the West Virginia internet here. He said he was asking, as far as we know, the screwdriver that was found, it's been reported that it was found on the roof. Can you confirm or deny that, George?
That's what I heard Kash Patel say. I don't know if that's true or not. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So if we're going back to talking about potentially, George made the comment that the towel, the screwdriver, the gun has his DNA, and that's obvious because it's grandfather's gun, which was likely passed down to him. So of course he has his DNA on. So we're making an assumption that potentially that was planted. Okay, that's fine for the gun and the towel, but not so much for the screwdriver that's been found on the roof. Now you put Tyler on the roof, in my opinion.
That was my thinking as well.
George, what he said was it would make sense. Basically, if we're saying if the implication is that the gun was planted there, it would make sense that the DNA would be on the gun. It makes sense that possibly DNA would be on the towel. But the fact that the screwdriver was found on the roof and then his DNA was on the roof, doesn't that essentially put Tyler at that scene?
Well, in the Discord messages, there is a gun drop, right? There is you guys all snipers, you had an assistant position the weapon sometimes. I don't want to give away the trade secrets, but you have an assistant
spotter,
that spotter guy. And if Tyler's acting as a spotter, as I have said, either at the location where the bush is or the chicken coop, which is the house just right next door, it would make sense that it would have his DNA on it. It would make sense that he would have adjusted the scope and the thing, and the Patsy or whoever is going on the roof and picked up the gun there is going to go on the roof with the gun. Maybe it was, I don't know why the guy's limping. I don't know what part of the weaponry he had on him and what, if he added the scope later, if he picked the scope up. But I'm just saying that it doesn't necessarily mean he pulled the gun or shot the shot. And my point is, if we have the video from the camera of him running off the roof, right, wouldn't we also have the camera of him getting in position?
Yeah, I think we have I think that video exists. I just don't think that it's been released. Because remember, putting it in context, I mean, that video was released, and Marcus pointed this out our last stream that I thought was really something that I felt like got lost in the sauce for everybody. The reason they released that footage was not to prove to the world that this guy did it. They released that footage so that he could be ID'd because he was still on the lam at that time. So, I mean, obviously, the further that person is from the camera, which the final firing location would be further from the camera. I think, again, the point of that, the entire point of that footage was not to say to the FBI, like, hey, we got this guy, we saw him shoot. I do think that there's evidence that would be withheld so that it doesn't taint a jury, so that you say, hey, this is the guy. And by the way, we saw this guy on camera get in position and shoot someone. I mean, I think that makes sense. And, I think they released some of the footage, just enough footage so that we could ID this person when he was still on the run. Does that make sense, or where am I wrong on that?
I don't think you're wrong. I just think it's at such a distance. All we know is we have somebody running. I don't think you can ID anybody from that. You know, he does kind of a combat role, an 82nd Airborne combat Fort Benning jump training kind of role, but it's at a distance. So we don't really have any ID there. We just know that that's where the shooter is because that's where the guy ran from on the roof. And I just, it's interesting. You know, Kyle Seraphin, you mentioned you're going to have him on. He used to be, I think, in the FBI in Salt Lake City. And he was I was at Armed Queers locations and going to all the different ROTC, showing that it's an ROTC front. And he was very critical of me my first night after the assassination in Salt Lake City. And I'm saying, look, hey, and you know, he called me all kinds of names and so forth. I'm like, hey, I'm not saying I'm an FBI guy. What I am saying is I'm going to show people as much evidence as possible. They thought, oh, well, Kyle's is saying, oh, he's leading people down the team path that Tyler trained these armed queers to do the assassination. Well, that's what the Discord messages say. That's what the other encrypted messages, I think, are going to say, at least the metadata. JD Vance says there's the messages. Kash Patel says there's the messages. So what I'm saying is I know I'm not an FBI guy. I'm just trying to go to these places and stand on the actual spot.
I didn't know you guys had beef, or I wouldn't have brought it up.
Oh, no. I'm just saying that I know he's going to trash me when he gets on.
No, I'm not going to let him trash you. I promise you. We'll have that talk. I don't want anybody trashing anybody.
But I just said, look, Kyle, I'm voting with my feet. I'm burning shoe leather here, right? If you want to come here and lend your expertise, or Ryan Meadows come after me. If you want to come here and video everything and share your video and lend your expertise, have at it. If I somehow CGI'd the parking lot outside of the Dairy Queen of Candace's Dairy Queen and screwed up her investigation, come here and shoot it yourself. So that's where I'm at, is when there's this vacuum of information where the FBI is not being transparent and not giving out all the evidence, and they're letting all this speculation and theories go on when they know they could answer a lot of these things. That's where citizen journalism has to kind of step in. That's my point.
I 100% agree. And that's why, and I think we should have, look, I think this space should be, if we're really interested in the truth and we're not just interested in making our own viewpoints be forced upon others or get clicks and views or whatever the other people's motives are, then I think this should be a collaborative effort, right? If we really care about the truth, we need to bring as many people on and get together and have information sharing, and then also do a little bit of like behind the scenes, not so much necessarily in public, but you know, behind the scenes, do a little bit of peer review and a little sanity check for one another, and be like, you know, if Kyle disagrees with you on something, you know, I think that'd be a good thing to be like, hey, George, I disagree with you on this, and this, and here's why. And maybe share his perspective. The fact is, I was an FBI agent. You weren't an FBI agent, but you're out there getting the truth. And what I can tell you, regardless of what anybody's opinion of you or us or anybody else, we're doing more than freaking Fox News, CNN, and every other freaking mainstream reporters out there doing. I can tell you that for sure. So, yeah, I mean, I
mentioned collaboration, and I met with Ian Carroll on the right. We're looking right down as they're repaving all the places where Charlie was shot. So. And Ian said he was going to drone, and I went and asked the guy to ask him where Ian could drone, and Ian did a great show last night with all of his drone footage, incredible encyclopedic kind of documentation of everything. And he walked around as well for the gun drops and everything. That is only a good thing, right? Yeah. That is only a good thing. You can interpret the evidence however you want, but we need to get the evidence. We need to collect the material.
I mean, I agree. Like, I imagine if all these people in this space, instead of shit talking one another, we actually got together and collaborated, joined forces, shared resources, shared skills, knowledge, and abilities. And I think we could get some real answers. And quite frankly, I think we could do a better job than the federal government or state and local as well. And, you know, that's my goal. And, you know, and that's not a high bar to reach either, by the way. I think most people, even having you on, regardless if we agree or disagree on what's going on, like I've learned a lot from you already. Some of the information that's on the ground that I didn't have before. Now I can have a better view and I can see your perspective, and we can take all those things into account. And that's how this whole process should be done. Chris,
Go ahead.
You got anything?
Yeah, I wanted to go back and say one thing that back on what Marcus said regarding the language of the text messages. And I'm not saying that I agree with the text messages, that they're legit. But the etching on the bullet casing, we now know is verbiage from a video game that he played. And that's been discussed on Discord, and I think even another one of his friends. So I'm just simply saying that if we can assume that he did that etching from that video game, he could have also sent some text messages in a similar style format. The other question I have is regarding the Dairy Queen photo from Candace Owens. I have not seen the photo that's actually date and time stamped. Does that exist, or do we go by the date and time that she gave us? That's my question. You might have to relay that, Marcus.
I had to use the bathroom.
I think you guys might be muted.
Can you guys hear me?
Oh. Hey, I can hear you. I was muted. Shoot.
You were muted. Start over, Marcus.
Can you recap that, Marcus?
Can you hear me, George? Cool. So Chris is making good points. I think he said the bullet casings being etched is, that's a very it's a very important thing if you're trying to cross-reference to the text messages conversation on how, if someone talked like a meme on a bullet casing, it's plausible they talk like in meme language in text messages and in conversations, and it's a sign of congruency there. I think he was saying that's how I understood it. And then two is the timestamp from him being in Dairy Queen. Are we going off of an official timestamp, or are we going off of just hearsay and what Candace Owens is saying as far as date and time when the picture was taken at Dairy Queen?
I'll also say that it's
very much hearsay. The timestamp, obviously, the photo is real. He's wearing the same kind of hat and glasses, but he could have been at that Dairy Queen, 3 weeks before, when the Superman promotion. The Superman promotion is the only thing that timestamps the kind of band it could be. Candace says it's on the 10th. She says it's 6:38 p.m. And my only thing, people, I went there twice and filmed it. I've been there a lot. The thing that people flipped out about was I'm filming the cameras saying, hey, let's corroborate this story, because this isn't the Dairy Queen they're tearing apart. This isn't the Dairy Queen where they're ripping the stuff off the walls. And like you guys, when you're leaving a operation, you might set up some kind of explosion or something that can be remotely rigged so that people run in an operation a different direction so that you guys can get out of there. So to me, it seemed the Dairy Queen thing seemed to be a false lead. If you take the picture at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, nobody's going to know. It's only inside. It's not outside. We don't have any hits on any cameras of him leaving. Again, if I'm leaving at 6:38 and I'm getting on a 6:54 plane, the only logical way that I see he could get there right now is on this plane, this N888 KG plane that's leaving the Provo Airport. I've timed it 16 minutes from that Dairy Queen. You can't get there from the other one. It's like 24 minutes. But my point is that if I'm leaving at 6:38 from Dairy Queen, I don't want to have anybody call me in at Dairy Queen, right, when they see me meet up with my ride. I want to push out a false trail so that I have an unencumbered escape to the airport, especially if I'm driving, right? So we don't know how, again, and the other thing with Candace is I'm trying to see if he did drive, where would be the hits? Where is the camera? So I'm driving up and down 89, which is the escape route for Candace's Dairy Queen to get to the airport, or to go south, or I-15 cameras to go south back to St. George. And I'm also looking at University Avenue, which is the other a back way, if you will, to get to the airport. And all I want is both routes to be looked into, both routes to see where are the cameras. And let's see if there's any verification and validation of what Candace is saying. Everyone says I'm undermining Candace. I'm not undermining Candace. I like Candace. Ian Carroll works with Candace every day. I want Candace to be successful. I want these stories to be successful. I just want to have the validation and verification and the triangulation. And when I see people 3 days ago, this Dairy Queen was operating, it's being torn. I mean, literally tearing the cameras off the walls. The recipe books are still in the back of how to make dilly bars and stuff. I mean, it looks like it was, the Cleveland Browns leaving Cleveland, going to Baltimore, in the middle of the night. It doesn't look good, so that's why I went to both locations.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you on Candace, George. I like Candace. I want her to be successful. If she has truth, I want her to bring out, but I'm with you. I just need, throw me a bone here. Give me a little bit of verification. I would like to see that. Real quick, guys, we've been at this hour and a half. Let's start getting through some questions. I'm sure we won't be able to exhaust this topic tonight, clearly, but we will get through some questions and we'll take it from there. In the video after CK, audience goes down, man running on roof, possible for Tyler to make the shot and be running that soon. So I estimate that, and I'll let anybody else want to talk about this, estimate that they say 3 seconds. Really, when you look at the back of the crowd, it's closer to 5, but even 3 seconds, it's quick. That's taking a shot, grabbing your gun and moving. I do think it's possible. And I do think it's a little bit more time, more like 5 seconds that we see that, but I do think it's possible. Appreciate your passion for true journalism. I think that's to you, George. But I think, either way, I appreciate your passion, regardless of who that's directed at, George. I appreciate your passion for journalism. Marcus, take that one.
You stated last time that hand loads and low velocity would make this make sense. The problem, it would help make this make sense. The problem with that is when velocity goes down, your crack to boom distance changes. Anything under SOS, no crack. I mean, and that's where, and I personally find the most interesting part of this case is the moment of the shot and the moment of impact. That's, and because I think all of our information is in there, in that moment. And that's my personal opinion. But with what you're saying, I completely agree. Like, the indisputable fact is an unsuppressed, loud shot with a supersonic round happened. It went over people's heads. You can hear it on multiple videos. You can track it, the bullet, from crack to bang as it's making its distance from the alleged point to Charlie. And I think that says a lot, right? So a unsuppressed open shot in a roof on a rooftop happened. This is nothing a professional would do. This is nothing somebody who is, a trained assassin, being paid $5 million by George Soros they would never do this. They would never act like this. Oh. So someone shot that, and then who was that? Well, if it wasn't Tyler, then we have another Patsy. So we have Patsies on Patsies on Patsies, and then on the moment of impact, I find that there's still a lot to be explored there as well. So, long answer to your question, but I find it very interesting. I would love to talk about this point more.
And to clarify, a hand load doesn't necessarily mean that it was subsonic. Like, we could still be shooting at 15 to 1800 feet per second. But what it would do would be that it would make more sense at a slower velocity with a lighter round, we might not see an exit wound. It would make the lack of an exit wound more likely.
Well, I think what William's saying is that if, based on the math, I've only done this for one camera angle, so I could be wrong. But the one camera I chose that had the clearest crack to bang I could find, the distance of that crack to bang mapped to the alleged position, as well as I would have expected it to. So if you change the velocity, you change that distance too. So I think he's saying that the story we have is the one that matches most. Matches the best right now with the math and the acoustic analysis.
What I'm saying is we also, that goes with that, not only a lower velocity, but also different rounds that we can hand load that again. And there is a margin for error, because I've done some of the math on that too. Like, there's a margin for error on 140 yards that we
Oh,
could go up or down velocity wise, and it still makes sense. And
to your point.
yeah,
Gotcha. You're right. Okay, that makes sense.
Chris.
I just wanted to comment briefly
Yeah,
on
go ahead.
some of the more advanced
Sorry,
technology.
George.
I know it seems like a lubberly novice shooter and so forth, but he had been in ROTC all 4 years of his high school, and he's into his I think he's continued in ROTC, but and he's continued shooting, especially with his father. You see him with all these machine guns and rocket launchers and 50 caliber machine guns and so forth. My point is that there is an Israeli technology, and I'm not trying to make it all Star Wars and whatnot, but there is an Israeli technology from this company called Elbit. Elbit is the provider of Golden Dome, the dome technology for missiles. They work with Lockheed and so forth. They do have a thing called ARCAS, which is ARCAS, which is a sync shot technology. So it's exactly for this situation, assassination situation, where you have an ideological Patsy who is going to take the shot, and it does create a crack bang a signaling sound, and then your shot, much lower caliber, much closer, is not noticed because of the covering of the echoing, right? And that's the kill shot. Now, again, if I had the people are talking about bullet fragments and so forth. If you're talking about it hitting the neck, that's soft tissue, right? Mm-hmm. You see these pictures of these deer that get hit with an entry wound, and then the exit wound is like, coffee can size. It's a fairly large, at least silver dollar size exit wound. And so I would expect to see that kind of an exit wound out of the back of Charlie's neck. Wouldn't expect the bullet to fragment unless it was some kind of special bullet. I'm just assuming that this bullet is like the other bullets that were etched, which are more kind of 30-06, look kind of like standard bullets. But you're the sniper, so you tell me. But
yeah, it could be frangible. It could be a frangible bullet. It could be a frangible bullet, or it could be some other things that you wouldn't really be able to tell just from pictures necessarily. The problem that I have when we get into this high-tech stuff is, like, I don't understand why we would use all of this high tech and then at the same time create conflicting trajectories. If we're so sophisticated and we're trying to create a Patsy, that's the thing that I don't understand. Like, why would we just have a better shooter up there that is smarter, that can hide the shot, that can get away? Because those capabilities are present without all of this other high-tech stuff. I mean, when you're introducing technology, and I can tell you that all of us, being Force Recon, being SEAL, being a Green Beret, we had a lot of technology at our disposal, and it wasn't always had a benefit. Like, the problem is that stuff goes down, and it's not always 100%, especially something that we're talking about, like super secret prototype level stuff. I just don't understand why they would use that level of technology and sophistication and then not just kill Charlie somewhere else. Like, that's the thing that escapes me a little bit, George. Does that make sense?
It makes sense to me. I would love to hear George's response, but I don't know. Can you hear us, George?
Yeah. Can you recap that? Because for some reason, Chris's line's not coming through here.
He was just, the question is basically, did you hear what I said, George? And he was just wondering if you had a response to that.
Yes.
Chris, can you recap what you heard? Marcus, can you recap what you heard Chris say? Because everything Chris says is garbled. I apologize.
Gotcha. No, this was coming from Gary. Chris didn't say anything. Did you not hear it from Gary?
No, I don't see
Gotcha.
Gary in his studio.
Oh shoot, Gary. Apparently he can't see you, Gary, or hear you, you.
Marcus or Gary, can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can hear you, Chris. So I guess George has lost Gary.
But you guys see me, right?
Yes. I can see you.
All right.
Okay.
You know what? Let's move on. We got a lot of questions. I don't know that I don't know that there's a good answer for that either way. Not sure if this has been established yet, but Lauren the Mortician YouTube channel has made a great case why it's very improbable that an autopsy was not done. She says one had to have been done because it's needed for the case. I don't know.
That was a great video. I
Yeah.
recommend everyone check her out. She's really smart and she knows what she's talking about when it comes to the morgue and how the process goes and what she sees. She has friends of friends who were connected there, and she's got a lot of great inside information. So everybody, it's a great video. Check her out. I recommend it.
All right, Chris, take this one, bud.
I love your podcast. Your views are truthful, on point, and not for clicks. I agree with y'all for the most part. These other guys putting out BS with being shot in the back and we see an exit wound, they claim to be experts and sound so dumb.
All right, that's a statement, not a question. I think there's a plethora of conspiracy theories. Only helps the defense introduce reasonable doubt. By the way, I'm still laughing about it. Marcus's moon. I don't think so. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, there's going to be speculation on every case, and especially a high-profile case. I mean, at the end of the day, the jury is going to see evidence that we don't, and that's the whole point of them withholding evidence and keeping it a little closer to the chest. Tammy Barlow, Megan Kelly hosted the Charlie Kirk show with Andrew. She said Charlie wore a bulletproof vest. Andrew agreed. It's at the 4350 mark. It wasn't actually Andrew. It was Mike McCoy, actually. I've played that video on here. If he had a team, they should have taken the rifle after the fact, so he didn't have to leave it in the woods full of DNA and all. Yeah, I'm sure there's an answer to that. The idea that there's no autopsy is wrong. The hospital has denied the claim and that there was no autopsy. That's great. YouTube Lauren, the mortician, is an anonymous source at the ME's office confirming the autopsy did occur. Image of Tyler on campus stairs clearly shows a protruding belly button. Every image online plus video of traffic stop shows a flat stomach. Okay. I don't really know what to say about that. The fact that there are so many questions out of the gate and the subsequent saturation with emotional baggage and alternative theories appears to be a psyop counter intel move to paralyze public. I don't necessarily look. I don't doubt that there's some. Look, if there is sophisticated people involved, well-funded, sophisticated involved, there's no doubt that there is some sort of psyop and other information coming out to muddy the waters. With that being said, I don't think they need to. I mean, everybody has the ability to get a voice out, and I think they wouldn't have to spend a dime or do a single thing in the waters are going to get muddied just by people talking. That is the dangers of the First Amendment and how we exercise that right here in the 21st century. George, what's your thoughts on that? Did you hear me, George? I think he's reading comments. That's all right. LOL, I got banned on Gary's channel for being critical of George. Marcus, Chris. No, you didn't get banned on my channel because you're still showing up on my channel. You're not. I didn't read your chat because it was nonsense. I mean, it's disrespectful. We'll just put it that way. Marcus and Chris fire. Gary sucks. There we go. We'll do that. I'll give you that. Thank you for taking the time to do this. However, we likely will never know the entire truth, but I, for one, appreciate your efforts regardless. Chat censorship is really piss poor policy. Let the comments fall where they may. Salute Marcus, brother, stay strong. No, this is my show. I'm going to run it how I see fit, and we're going to treat each other with respect. I don't care if you don't like it. You're welcome to go watch something else. I mean, there's no reason for just gratuitous nonsense in the chat. I mean, there's not. So
yeah,
this is
I
an
fully
adult
support.
show. Yeah, it's an adult show. Act like an adult. Respect
is number one. We can't do it's the foundation. So regardless, this is Gary's show, and this is his lead. So this is 100%, and I agree with him. So 100% respect first.
Yep.
Hey, Chris, you're the only one I can hear, so I think this might be a good time. I'm losing my internet, and unfortunately, the hotel Wi-Fi is worse. So I'm going to sign off. I was going to put this sign up saying "Can't hear, need to sign off." So thanks for the opportunity, and I want to say thanks to for your service, and Gary and Chris, and hopefully you can answer some questions, and then Seraphin can come on tomorrow night and let me have it. But I'll just say in the last kind of sentence in my defense, I'm here. I'm spending my own money. I make $8 a month on paid Substack. I'm burning my shoe leather. I'm putting all my information and films out to everyone to use. If they want to do the same thing, they can do the same thing, right? So I'm not holding them back from coming here and shooting the truth if I'm some kind of paid government agent. So thanks very much, guys. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, George. I don't know, you probably can't hear me, but thank you. I'm sending him a text. All right. That was unfortunate. But that's what happens with technical difficulties sometimes. Gents, what is your take on the security dudes hopping the table, jumping on the ground, grabbing stuff off Charlie and passing to each other and taking off? I'm confused and wondering if you all have an opinion. Chris, take that one.
Yeah, we talked about that Monday, I believe it was, last time we did it. And it's not clear in the video exactly what they are doing or potentially passing off. We just presented a couple different options. A, keys to go start the vehicles because the vehicles were in that tunnel area. Or B, likely the security team had some sort of stop the bleed kit or something like that. So they could have just been handing off kit, like, here's another kit. Do what you need to do to stop the bleed. And in the meantime, let me go run. So I just passed off my stop the bleed kit. Now I'm going to go run and start the vehicle, or make sure the door is open, or make sure the path is clear because people started running. So maybe they were doing that. I mean, I just think you're inferring too much with something you can't clearly see. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree as well. Trump said, was Gary even born in 87 when I started doing diplomatic security? I was born in 1980. Guy who jumped table did nothing for Charlie, but did something odd. Guy in the brown shirt, front row, left to Charlie, something in the shirt shoulder area. I saw a video yesterday. So much odd stuff all around. Yeah, I think we kind of covered that the last one. First pod I've seen address the varmint grenade hand loads. You're into sub share. You're welcome. Have you tried to get the original door cam footage of the shooter from Phil Lyman? Apparently it shows the shooter interacting with a girl. We talked about that. I'm aware of that footage. I became aware of that footage on some reports today. That's the first time that I saw it. So we'll be looking out for it. I don't know what that means. I do think there seems to be a disconnect where sometimes we're conveniently, seems like we're putting Tyler at the scene, and then other times we're saying that he was never at UVU. I think that, and again, I think UVU, the other thing too, is somebody brought up in the chat I saw earlier, UVU is like 2 hours away from his location. Why, if he wasn't at that event, then why was he filmed at the Dairy Queen?
Yeah, I mean, the story falls apart so fast when you start like unboxing, like, okay, so then you can't, I don't know how people on one train of thought can think, okay, this is a professional hit conspiracy backed by the most powerful people on earth, but also so sloppily have the person in jail and they didn't put him on the campus, but they're using him as a patsy. It just does, like, what?
Well, that's because they're playing 4D chess. You just don't get it. There was a police dispatch audio gunfire from north of the library near the CS building. Has anyone looked at that trajectory? I don't know that we have. The onus on the FBI, not Candace. No, I mean, if you're going to come out there and make claims, I think you say that. No, I mean, like good reporting includes some. So if you're saying, hey, no, I have evidence of X, Y, and Z, and you never provide evidence, I mean, that's like good reporting includes that. I mean,
especially
we're just going to believe anything.
Candace with millions of viewers. Like, I think if you're going to bring something that's damning, that blows the whole case wide open, you got to back that up with something.
Yeah.
Great power comes great responsibility.
That's right. That's why you have so much responsibility, Marcus. Thank you, Deb Gibbles. Rich Buddy. Anyone notice how Kirk was pushed from his chair? Yes, that is standard operating procedure for protective operations. You're going to be pushed down to the ground very rapidly, just like they tried to do with Trump when he was getting shot at. Usually that's a very aggressive tackle to get a body bunker, get you on the ground, get a body bunker under you. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. If they didn't do that, I would have a problem with it.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because I saw that the other day and I'm like, that's what he was supposed to do.
Candace is not selling merch. Soon TPUSA will try and sell Charlie's chair to make some money. If I get taken out, I want my wife to act like Candace and not like Erica. Very weird stuff. Yeah, but I mean, look, I'm not going to pretend to know, and I want to be as gracious as possible. I don't know what motivates Candace or what doesn't. She has sponsors, like she gets millions and millions of views. It's not like she's not making money from those. And that's fine. FBI has no solid proof that Tyler was at UVU. Okay.
No, I disagree. I mean, back to the screwdriver that was found on the roof. That was the whole point earlier. Like he was at least something that he touched was on the roof. And how did it get up there if it wasn't him? Why if he's the Patsy and the gun was a drop point with a towel that has all of his DNA on it, that's fine. Why take the screwdriver up there then?
Also,
I'll give you the answer that will be delivered, and that is all I got to do is put latex gloves on. I'm going to grab this mouse that Gary was watching. I'm going to put it in a bag, and then I'm going to dump it off at the site. And then, and even if there is, even if I grab this, because that's going to be the answer. Even if this was Marcus's mouse and I grabbed it, there'll be my DNA on it, but there'll also be Marcus DNA on there. So that'll be the answer. But the problem here, the real problem here is we don't know what the FBI hasn't told me what evidence there is. What we did hear, I don't know if you guys watched the probable cause hearing. I did.
I watched some of it.
The defense attorney specifically said the evidence and the discovery is voluminous. I can never say that word. Voluminous. So there are a lot. All right. I don't know how you can quantify voluminous, but there's a lot of evidence and things that is going to be shared in discovery. So the problem is we don't know what the FBI knows because they haven't shared it with us.
So here's another point. I want to hit on what you just said there. In that same thing, it's the defense that's asking the judge for an extension because they need more time to review all of this digital evidence. She specifically used the words digital evidence. So there's more than just the Discord chats we've been told. There's more than just text messages that we've seen. If we're talking about needing 60, 90 days to review all this digital evidence.
TM says, I declare the 4 o'clock muzzle flash location, the Shady Nook. You can declare it that. I would declare it as the pane of windows that don't open and there's no possible way there was a shooter behind them. It's not as catchy, but it's more true. Text messages were made by ChatGPT. Duh. Okay. I'm with Marcus. I psychologically broke that down as well as totally legit. He's probably also somewhere on the spectrum. They will have Twig's phone as well and geolocation, metadata, etc. Several ways to prove legitimacy. The info you're asking will come out at trial.
I agree.
Spotter with radio on rendered roof is cheap, effective protection. We've talked about this before. You're typically not going to put a spotter at a different location of the shooter because typically you want the same perspective as the shooter. Therefore, you can do what spotters do. I'm not saying that it's not possible. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. I guess that's the implication. I don't know what rented rooftop is cheap on a rented rooftop. Okay. K. Rittenhouse was tried in the court of public opinion before he ever went to trial. Keeping evidence under wraps is the only way to minimize having a tainted jury pool. Great job to all of you. Agreed. And look, again, tomorrow, Kyle, I'm I almost said Kyle Rittenhouse. Tomorrow we will have Kyle Seraphin on, and he is one of the most outspoken critics of the FBI to ever exist. He was a former FBI agent. He was a whistleblower. He will give you the truth about whether or not he feels like the FBI is conducting. And I have no idea. I haven't talked to him. I haven't on that particular issue. I haven't asked him what he thought about this at all. So I have no idea what his opinion is. Maybe he agrees with everything that's being said. I just don't know. But I think it'll be a fascinating interview, and you don't want to miss it. What's the take on the video showing security removing something from camera, pocketing something, then walking off? Well,
we've talked about that. Marcus has talked about that and what a camera crew person would do. So
that wasn't the security. That was the actual AV guys. And as a matter of fact, Candace has talked about this. So, and it's also been talked about by other TPUSA guys. Thanks for addressing the high velocity light varmint, high power VMAX, etc. Plausibly could not exit, especially at downward angle. This is driving me nuts, driving me bananas. 18 Bravo. Cool. My fellow, I guess he's saying he's a 18 Bravo, or he's talking to me. I don't know. Anyways, cool. I feel like all the theories are designed to make his defense for him. Sorry, I think it was him. Imaginations running wild is what they want. 160th forever. What's up, Jack Sparrow? Good to see you in the chat again, bud. Appreciate it. All right, Marcus, you read this one.
If this is a conspiracy, are you suggesting the feds wrote the text messages to the partner? That's what George Webb, from my understanding, that's what he is leaning towards as an explanation. I am very hesitant to add things like that to this conspiracy, because every time you try to fabricate something, you're adding a whole nother network of people who now have to contain a lie. So I just think there's only so much you can lie about, and why would they do that with the text messages? That's my stance.
Just a clarifying point. I believe George wasn't saying that it was the FBI. He was saying that it was the retired friend that basically helped turn him in. He had access to, I guess, the police department or sheriff's office or whatever. And so he could have gotten the phone and he could have initiated the text message. But then again, it goes back to the other thing. Why? How would he even know the boyfriend to begin with? Like,
how would he know the memes from 2005 that they're referencing on the bullet casings?
Right.
Well, maybe he would know that. But then also, you also have to dupe now the tech guy who's the one who jailbreaks the phones and goes retrieves all these things. You'd have to get him in on it. And then you have to get the person who does all the reports there. Somebody's doing the paperwork saying, this was the process. We did this. So-and-so broke into the phone and did this process. They got the text messages. And you have to do reports, right? So every time you'd have to, there's a whole chain of people you'd have to dupe to pull that off, right?
All I know is you sound like a Fed, Marcus. All that common sense.
I don't even care, man. That's just, people are going to, internet's going to do what internet's going to do, man. I just want the truth. I just
internet
want logical
internet.
Truth.
There's not been any publicly released photo of the actual rifle believed to have shot Charlie Kirk after massive research on their one fact. Yeah, I mean, there has been a supposed picture that was released, supposedly leaked from the ATF, that shows the rifle. We haven't heard any. We definitely haven't heard the. I'm assuming that is correct, because we haven't heard that the FBI or anybody else come out and deny that, but that doesn't mean that they just decided they're not going to deny it. Chris?
Screwdrivers to put the rifle together and not take it apart. I agree.
Yeah, we've covered that many times. We don't think that rifle was disassembled after the shot. Saw a video of a round shot into a smaller block of ballistic gel. Force cause expansion and cone-shaped protrusion out one side. Theory: CK shot and wound seen as from internal forces exiting between muscles. Theories: the Charlie Kirk shot and wound seen as from internal forces exiting between muscles or frag. We'll just leave that because it's not a question. I don't really fully understand. Marcus?
Was Tyler's dad the retired sheriff or a friend of the family?
It's
Do you know Gary for sure?
so
Or
I
have more
heard that
information?
the initial reports saying that his dad was like 23 years law enforcement was conflated with the dad's father. I don't think I have seen official, at least news releases. I'll just say that. I don't think it came from like a law enforcement source, but there have been people that I've seen that they said that was incorrect at first, and that the father actually wasn't involved in law enforcement. You guys can look that up. Chris.
It is telling what they did not release when the IDing someone was critical. Also, the video with TM running off the roof is interesting. Shadow disappearing, pedestrians disappearing behind trees. LOL. The disappearing behind trees, someone pointed that out. I've seen it. One possibility, this is, and I'm just going to go back to sniper days, one way, and I'm not saying that the person walking on the sidewalk was a sniper or anything like that, but you use the terrain. So if that individual turned on a sidewalk in the direct line of that tree, they would have disappeared. I don't know that that's what happened, but that is a potential explanation for why that person might have disappeared. And I believe we talked about the whole roof thing and the image of the camera. The camera wasn't that great anyway, so.
Yeah, the shadows getting lost in the highlights. It's not a high definition or high dynamic range camera. So that's just it. Does George have a PO box? We could donate spare shoe leather. I hear he's running low. I'm sure you can go. I'm sure he has a Patreon or something where you can donate some money if you want to support him. And I suggest you do. Look, I really appreciate George coming on. And I like George. I really do. I disagree with him on some things, but I think he is value added to this conversation for sure.
Real quick on that previous question, Newsweek released Washington County Attorney's Office denied that Matt Robinson has ties to law enforcement, saying that those were early reports that were inaccurate. It was the family friend who is a retired deputy sheriff, retired detective.
Look at that. Solving mysteries left and right here on the show. Marcus, you get that video? God bless you all. Thanks.
I'm looking, and God bless you back. I'm looking, Clay. I don't see it on X, so I'll check my IG. Okay.
Gary for the win. Thank you. I guess. Excellent points, Marcus. Excellent points. Catherine Smith. They founded his imprint in gravel on a rooftop, yet he hauled ass right after the shot. Those imprints would have been dragged and destroyed for flight. Another thing that does not track. That's not true at all. I don't know. I don't know if we need to shoot a video of something similar. Like you can.
I think you should add that to your ballistic shooting and everything else you plan to do.
I just didn't realize people thought that. I can just tell you that's definitively incorrect assumption, Catherine. Have you seen the YouTube video, The Ballistic Theory of Charlie Kirk's Homicide on U.S. Overwatch, vest deflection at 2139? Yes, I've actually talked to the gentleman. Great video. And we'll definitely be doing some tests on different types of vests. That's already started. I'm waiting for more equipment to come in. And we'll do some ballistic tests and multiple different variations of ammunition. We'll do it without armor, with armor, and see if we can get something that replicates what we see. What kind of makes my blood boil? A European descendant shot a European descendant. Can't European descendants have back? What are we talking about here? Like the most war ravaged continent on the face of the planet is Europe against Europeans. So I don't know. Hell, we even had American Civil War, so I don't know. I hear you, Ray. We all need a little more unity in our lives, right? We do. We need to stop looking at each other as enemies. I put out a video talking about that today, and I mean it. I'm gonna try to do a better job of, I don't know, being more gracious to people I disagree with in any regard, but especially politically. Try to do like Marcus does. They say he was wearing armor front and back. Would all the conspiracies end, or people just want to muddy the water? No, I don't think the conspiracies would end.
Nope.
Look, the conspiracies are already changing. Like, you know, we had this conspiracy come out that there was an explosive device in his microphone, right? And so not only did I put a video out on it, we talked about it multiple times on this show. And Marcus, you saw those reports and videos where people were saying that, right? I just want to make sure I'm not losing my mind. People saying it was an explosive, that it was an explosive device in his mic, right?
Still hear it.
With you, Chris.
I'm still hearing it, no matter. Yeah, it's persistent.
Correct.
So today I was bombarded on that video where it's like, Gary, you're basically pulling a straw man. No one's saying that it's an explosive device. They're saying that it is like a CO2 device with some sort of projectile propellant or something else. I'm like, no, this is brand new. And this is how slippery some of these things get, is like, as soon as you prove them wrong or you point out the fallacy of the argument, like they switch it up on you. And it's like trying to hold on to a river trout with your hands. Chris.
Schedule, doing a great job. I don't buy the plane theory. If he has a rifle with him, there's no way. Yeah.
Marcus.
If anyone would know how fast you can get up and go, I believe it's you guys. Thank you so much for all the hard work you have put into this case, providing a space for us to think this out. Thank Gary. I mean, he's the one providing this space, and I agree. I'm really grateful to Gary for putting this together.
Stop. I'm really grateful to both of you guys. I think you guys add so much to this conversation that I'd be remiss not to have you on as often as we possibly can. So thank you guys, and just stop that. My journalism column was meant for the channel. Keep seeking the truth. Thank you very much. Kevin, thank you very much. Shasta Baxter, thank you very much. Hope y'all are well. If you find out this was Israel, what does this mean? They pretty much own Wall Street. Powerful people stand to lose a lot of money. I don't know. I just like here's the thing. Let's be honest. If they were involved, we'll never know that they were.
That's what I was about to say.
I don't believe that they're involved with this. I don't think. Look, regardless of what he may or may not have, and I know there's, I know basically one of the big things that Candace put out today or the last couple of days was that, basically Charlie was pulling his support for Israel. Number one, we haven't seen anything that confirms that. Matter of fact, we've seen evidence that his letter to Netanyahu, which TPUSA has confirmed to be real, said just the opposite. But even if he decided that, I just don't see the benefit of that. It just doesn't make sense to me. I think there's other things that they could do to have a bit bigger impact. This one's for you, Marcus. You read it.
Marcus, can you explain your calculations, source footage, and how you identified the crack thump in the waveform for your audio analysis? We did that a few live streams ago. If you want to go back last week, was it 6 days ago, we did that on a live stream, and about a quarter of the way through. And if you reach out to me on X, I'll point you directly to it.
Well, also, I have a engineer friend that works in audio. I won't say a friend. This is the guy I know. And he's went through that in very good detail. And I plan on having him on the show, and we'll talk about that. Chris, Chris.
Why did they originally focus on Tyler? What drew them to the suspect, the man on the stairwell, to begin with? From what I know, what drew them was I think it was first the mom that recognized and then said to the dad, "Hey, I think that's Tyler." And then Tyler and Dad and Grandpa were talking. Then they were messaging with Tyler, asking where the rifle is, because by then the rifle was out too. They thought it was their rifle, so they were asking, "Where's the rifle?" And then the family friend gets involved and they convince him, "Hey, that looks like you. That's grandpa's rifle. You need to turn yourself in.
Yeah, I agree with that account. That's exactly what I heard. I see no evidence Tyler was an ROTC. I haven't seen that either.
Me neither.
I haven't seen any reports of that. Maybe George, look, I think there's a running list of other things I definitely wanted to ask George and go through the list. Maybe we'll get him back on and go through some of that. Maybe as information we don't. The old man was successful in getting Tyler to escape. We're talking about George Zinn, immediately and spontaneously claiming he was the shooter or whatever he said. Definitely drawing attention to himself. That is, besides the 30-06 round potentially not exiting, or I would say not exiting. That is the other great mystery of this. I find that. And then right after that, apparently he was not only arrested, but he was arrested on child pornography. So that whole thing is weird. I would love to know more information. Do you guys have any other further details on that you've heard?
I did see something, not Alex Jones. I wanted to say Alex Jones at first, but it's not Alex Jones. Somebody put out something that George Zinn was a CIA operative. So that's what I've seen.
The only thing about that whole thing that gives me some solace that it could possibly, obviously, not be a conspiracy is that back in that interview he did as an eyewitness for whatever company or brand or nonprofit organization he was doing the internet for, or the interview for, back in 2001, he gave a eyewitness account of what happened 9/11. He says in the interview, I was on my way back home to Salt Lake City, Utah, back home at the airport or something. This is 2001 when all of a sudden it happened. So they didn't, he lived in the area, and he's clearly somebody who wanted to be a part of history. And so that's my one explanation to try to make sense of it, is that he lived in that area, and he said that back in that interview in 2001. So
I believe
was a local.
He is also on record as saying he was trying to help the shooter get away, correct?
Yeah, he is.
I mean,
I've heard that report. I'll say that.
Well, coming from somebody who did that, I mean, his report, I mean, how much credibility or weight does it have? I mean, he's clearly insane.
Sure.
Well, look, I think, just to set the record straight on what I think there's zero chance there isn't a conspiracy. I don't think it's right now. I don't see any evidence of conspiracy outside of possibly Tyler and more people within, the discourse chat and, his furry trans lover or whatever. I think more people knew about this for sure. I do think it's really odd. Like that to me, if it is a coincidence, man, it's a hell of one that he just jumped up there. Marcus, take that.
Marine vet with a degree in applied mathematics. Loving
First
all the ballistics
of all,
talk.
Stop. Fake news. Fake effing news. That's not true.
Come on, you don't all eat crayons all day, man.
Sorry,
Sometimes. Loving all ballistics talk on the channel since I found it these last few weeks. Also appreciate the XL PTS hoodie I got. Is a true XL. All right. I'm assuming it's one of your merchandise?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
Paramount merch. Paramount merch.
Heck yeah. XL, big old Marine.
I'm going to send you guys some Paramount merch. I expect
rock and roll, man.
Every time you come on my show, you got to be rocking some Paramount merch.
That's right.
Just joking. Just joking. The George Simp Squad, all right. Yeah, we're not going to disparage George. I get it. I get that people disagree with George. And look, I've disagreed with George on many things, but I do think, like, just my impression that George is earnest. I don't think he's doing this. He has a different perspective. Like, we're all on the same team, and he does bring. And again, there's a bunch of people on his X and other feeds right now saying Gary is, I don't know what they're saying, but like, it doesn't add to anything, and it's just immature and dumb. Leslie, can you play the video where he gets off the roof? He lays on an object of the roof opposite of where he laid the gun to scale over the edge. He never took the object. No one has covered to date. Yes, a lot of people have, actually. Please go watch Gray Hughes Investigates. Leslie, he has covered this in detail. He was in the chat. He may still be. I'm only seeing the I can only look at either the live chat or the the super chats. So anyways, he was in the chat earlier. I highly suggest you go. He does a really good breakdown analysis. If you guys really want to know, it's the best one I've seen on the internet. So go check that out. Chris.
Marcus and Gary still haven't watched the footage I sent of the shooter runner on rooftop, but keep questioning if there is more than one shooter. I've
seen multiple videos, and Ryan, I don't know, like thousands of emails. I did take yesterday off mostly. I needed a break. I still did a lot of work and still did a lot of emails and everything else. I've seen multiple videos. Like, guys, I hate to break it to you. You're not the only one with those videos unless you were there. Those videos are being passed around. I still want them just in case. I'm not trying to deter you from sending me stuff, and Marcus, but I have seen those videos. The idea that it somehow proves that there's somebody else up there or there's another shooter up there, so far I haven't found compelling. And there's a lot of other ballistic evidence and physical evidence that doesn't point in that direction. And if I see something tomorrow that changes my mind, folks, I'm going to tell you. I'm like, yep, definitely. Marcus?
Off topic, but did anyone see the James O'Keefe video with undercover video of the former DOJ investigator admit Epstein was CIA and Israeli asset? That is quite a jump off from the topic. And
I have heard that. I have not seen the video.
Mm-hmm.
I am writing that down. I would like to find that.
Oh, James O'Keefe is that investigative journalist.
Yeah.
Now it clicks. Okay.
With,
I love this. I like what he puts out. I would love to see if he puts.
You know what? Look that up. While it's James O'Keefe, I know it used to be Project Veritas. It may be something else now because he had some sort of falling out. See if we can find that. That'd be worth playing. If Tyler Dad sent him texts about gun, doesn't that imply they think he was that pick? Yeah, I mean, that is the major implication here. Unless Tyler's dad and grandpa and mom are all in on it too. Do a show on FBI fails in handling of evidence. We don't do shows 24/7. Look, the FBI has failed a lot. All law enforcement has. Doesn't mean that everything is a failure. I worry Cash getting FBI reports from dishonest FBI. That's possible. That's something I worry about too. I had past tense opti, so I'm going future. I don't know. Do you guys know what she means by that?
No, I don't know what she means.
No.
Probability Tyler gets Epstein in the next 30 days. I don't know. If he does get Epstein in the next 30 days, that changes the calculus for me for sure.
I agree.
Yep.
Marcus is handsome and patient. That's all. You handsome, patient devil.
Marcus, did you find that video yet?
That was from Al. Jason Smith, why didn't the FBI lock down the UVU for a longer period of time? Seemed rushed, and now UVU is redoing where CK was shot. One would think this would still be a crime scene, just odd. Wouldn't think that at all. I mean, they're going to get in there. Like, they can work quickly. They can pretty much get all the evidence that they could possibly need within, 24, 48 hours. I don't know. Again, that's a great question for Kyle Serafin. Hey, was the amount of time he's been on multiple FBI scenes, he'll be able to tell us tomorrow if anything was weird about that. You can see him running through the windows on the rooftop before he gets to the edge to climb down. Okay. Tyler's father was a cop for 27 years. He would have grown up hearing his father say squad car and vehicle. His father, we've kind of established at this point that was incorrect information. His dad was not a cop. Marcus, how long were you a hog? Hunter of gunmen.
Hunter of gunmen. Yeah, I'll tell my story someday.
He's writing a book, guys. Only observation, Chris, you were a Navy SEAL. You guys, when you ETS, you get handed your Your biography, right? Your career biography.
You get an editor, you get the whole thing.
Only observation I've made that hasn't been discussed in this channel is how did the security team not see the shooter on the roof? Several of them were facing directly at CK's 10 p.m. We've talked about that at length on multiple shows. This is why you guys can't miss a show. Can't miss a show. Look, that is a personal security detail. Their job is not counter sniper operations. They don't have the capacity to do that. The greatest threat to a celebrity like Charlie Kirk in that environment is within arm's reach. They keep everybody back. They're constantly scanning. Guys, imagine if somebody in the front row pulled out a gun and shot Charlie, and two guys at the front were up there looking at the rooftops. We would be sitting back, rightfully so, saying, these guys are idiots. They're a personal security detail, and they're looking at freaking rooftops, where the most likely course of action and the most dangerous course of action, the most likely threat would be from that immediate circle. So that's not what PSD teams do. The average celebrity doesn't have counter sniper teams. We're talking about, to really lock that place down, you need 40 or 50 people. That's the truth. And Charlie never rolled like that. And most celebrities don't, even Tom Cruise or anybody else. In order for him to be recognized, they had to publish his image. What about him made the suspect him to begin with to publish his image? Well, I'm sure they actually saw him getting in position like we've talked about. So they saw this guy, just the footage that they didn't release. They see this guy get on the roof. They find all that information. They only publish what they decide to publish for whatever reason they decided to publish. That was enough, they thought, to get his picture out there. And obviously it was enough because his parents identified him. All the information the FBI put out could be true and substantiated, and people would not believe it. People need conspiracy to live with the fact that everyday people around us are full of evil. There's some truth to that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Rob Doak. Chris, take this one.
So this guy is supposed to take the fall for some elaborate team. He's going to get convicted, and he's just supposed to stay quiet. Well, I mean, Marcus hit on that earlier. I mean, do you think that that's actually going to be the case? Like, he's just so gun-ho that he's going to fall for these other guys, or was he just convinced that he wasn't going to take the fall and then he did take the fall? I don't know.
I like this, and I agree with it wholeheartedly. For Israel, the cost to risk ratio of being discovered to having killed Charlie Kirk would not be worth the effort. It would, by and large, push conservatives against Israel. Yes. Ultimately, do you think the weapon and the guy are guilty? So far, I don't see any evidence that points to anything else. So what we're left with, but we haven't seen enough evidence for me to say. But yeah, if you're just asking what I think we have the guy in custody.
All right, found the video. If you want to see it.
Yep, I want to see it.
13. It's not short. It's 13 minutes long, but we can play the beginning of it. It seems like a lot's revealed in the intro.
Play it at 5x.
I didn't even know I could. I was like, can I do that?
I don't think so.
You can double
maybe
the speed
2x
for sure.
Maybe 2x.
Yeah,
just play it.
X. Here we are on X.
Let me answer this question real quick or address it. Connecting dots. If Dad sent text about gun, doesn't that confirm Tyler and Lance chat was real?
You hit that already.
I would think so. No, I didn't read it. Don't tell me what I've read, Chris. You're not the boss of me.
2x is a little too fast, so I'm gonna go.
Oh, just play 1x. I was joking.
All right.
Slow down, Marcus. Slow down.
There you go.
Yeah, but it'll soon come out.
Just checking you guys can hear that. Some audio's coming through. Okay.
He was a CIA informant.
He was a CIA informant.
He was a CIA. I think he's protecting a lot of other people. He's not protecting himself because there's nothing there, but he's protecting a lot of people.
Because Trump's now saying it's a hoax of the case, like a hoax or something. I mean, come on, you know it's not a hoax. He's been on the plane, many times. Mm-hmm. It's just he was never on the plane with the kids.
I've seen the itineraries and I've interviewed all the victims. There's never been an instance where Trump was on a plane with these kids and a rape occurred. But that can't be said for Clinton, and it can't be said for others. while the Clintons were on the plane, while Bill Clinton was on the plane, there were rapes that occurred.
Overheard at Phoenix Airport on September 8th, 2025.
All right, I think that's enough for now.
That's a lot, yeah.
I mean, that is breaking news right here on Dangerous Liberty podcast, folks. I mean, that's the most, I don't know who this guy is, and what proof he has of that, but that's the first time that we've heard anything like that. So take that information for what it is.
Yeah,
That's
people,
crazy.
I mean, claiming that he's seen it with his own eyes, that's a hell of an account.
And you found that on James O'Keefe's X account?
Yes, yeah.
Folks, if you haven't done so already, please like, subscribe if you find this informational and you like it, and all those things. Make sure you go subscribe on Marcus as well as Chris. Again, all of their contact information and their socials are down in the description below. Share this stuff. We want to grow this audience because we think that will help us get our message out. And if you agree with that, share the stuff. Watch Stephen Gardner and Andrew Covelt, 3 cameras filming 4K clear footage behind to the side and front. Said bullet entered at C2. Okay.
Stephen Gardner with Andrew. Okay.
Andrew Covelt is their.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know who Stephen Gardner is.
I'll take it. I was just in force. I was not a Marine Raider. So there you go.
Just in force recon. God, you slacker. How do we tell the difference between incompetence, investigative secrecy, and cover up? Well, you got to have all the information first to make a decision, and you got to sort through the BS information, which there's clearly been a bunch put out, and so it gives the appearance that things are more complicated than they are. I think everybody out there, including myself, started off, regardless of where you are in that spectrum, we started off with certain assumptions that were incorrect. Like, for instance, like one of the immediate things that I heard was like, it was crazy that there was a person on the roof because, the assumption is that those roofs are secure and you got to go through, like, I know a lot of the buildings that I've been in, you do have to go through like, a hatch, climb up a ladder. Usually that stuff's locked, secure. Well, then I find out that you can just literally walk up to that roof and there was no security. So, that's how you can try to, like, we're not at a point where we have enough information to figure out what's going on, to be honest with you, as far as that part of it. I think we may get there. Chris.
Candace stated that Charlie had recently ended his contract with his former body armor vendor. He reportedly wanted to go a different direction. Yeah, that's been talked about, but we don't know for sure whether he was or was not wearing body armor that day, and whether or not changing vendors would have changed whether he decided to or not decided to. Don't know.
There's mysteriously a lot of conflicting information from people close to Charlie about body armor. Why not show pics clearly, showing him better and clearer? Why show images turned to the side or head down? It's flowing video camera feed, right? Make it make sense. Marcus, maybe you'll speak the right language to this guy to make him understand.
Well, yeah, I have an issue with it, but I just don't know what they had at their disposal. So we got what we got, and we're trying to make the most of it. It's like, what do you imply, right? Do you imply that they're purposely just picking bad angles just to purposely make our lives hard?
Maybe the best pictures they had, he was clearly avoiding cameras.
So yeah, at this point we just don't know. So either you assume the worst and that they're purposely giving us crooked angles just to make the public's lives more, hard, make our lives more hard as the public trying to investigate this ourselves, or that was the best they had. Pick your poison, really. And
hallucinogenic recipes, that was a Marine joke. I was just joking around. So they dug up the area Charlie was shot and poured concrete. They did.
Did they actually pour concrete or just put pavers? Because what I saw was them, they had laid a layer of sand and then started putting in pavers. And then I think maybe they kind of concreted the pavers in place. I'm not 100% sure on that one.
I think I saw what looked like both. So I saw the initial construction of them laying pavers, and then later on I saw what looked like it was concreted over. I don't know that it matters. I think the implication is kind of the same. I don't have a real good answer for you guys. That is weird. It's a little suspicious. That being said, they would be digging up that sod anyhow, because there would be blood and biological material, and they would remove that sod. Maybe they just decided to, I don't know. I would love a good answer from the school.
I did get some information on this. The school is preparing to have a memorial for Charlie. I don't know if that's the exact site, but I did figure out how we can get that information, because you can do a public records request, which would be able to come out and say, okay, yep, contractors were hired, this day for this work and whatever. So that was one of the questions I had, is when did that work start? Because it was, so
you're saying it could potentially have been pre-planned.
Not necessarily pre-planned, because now they're saying that it might be a memorial for Charlie, but it also could have been pre-planned. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting. Wouldn't the scope be much less accurate if he assembled the rifle on the roof after everything was shoved in a backpack, or has that story changed now? I don't think that I don't think we'd know, right? So two things. Number one, I think it's very plausible that he kept the scope attached and just pulled the buttstock off the barreled action and left the scope on there. He could hide that behind his backpack, just like he would the action end, with the barrel going down his leg. You can depending on the mount and how it's attached, you can potentially take a scope off, put it back on, and you'll have, if you're careful about it, you'll have very little deviation. But again, the problem is that it was only 140 yards. You could have up to a 5-6 MOA deviation from your zero. You could have, just to put it in layman, you could have a massive deviation from your zero and still hit a man-sized target at 100 yards. Like, I don't think people understand how easy it is to shoot a man-sized target and how big a target a person is at 140 yards. There's not a lot going on there. Marcus.
Troy Black Channel prophesized leaders scattering across the world for things about to come out. In his World War III video, Epstein Files will come out. I'll check it out, Raymond. Okay.
You guys are the absolute best. I feel like I know you both now, but can you give any insight to the psychological aspects of your lives or methods to separate normal life from military experiences? I don't know that you guys tell me what I don't know that I separate my normal life from military experience. I think it all kinds of blends together. One of the things I think I've mentioned on here, and you guys, especially when you're in the military at a high level, like, that is your life. Like, that is your identity. That's all you do. That's who you are. That's everything you've worked for, whether it's becoming Force Recon, which has an extensive selection process, whether it's becoming, a Navy SEAL, extensive selection process. You eat, breathe, and live that. And then you go on these, multi-month deployments, and that's all you do. And you're living in a way that, like, number one, your life is on the line, your brother's lives are on the line, and then you come back, and it's an adjustment period for sure. It was for me. And I don't know that I think I have a different perspective because of that. I think I have a better perspective on a lot of things in life, like, a lot of things that just bug my wife and things. I'm like, I don't know, we're not getting shot at, bro. So I think we're gonna make it through this moment that feels really stressful. Like, I think we're gonna be okay. Like, what's your guys' perspective on that?
Go for it, Chris.
Okay, I'll go first, I guess.
Got you.
No, I agree with you that I don't think you fully separate it. I don't think it's like, oh, you were this and then now you're this in the civilian world and it's just all separated. I think they do commingle, mesh together. I also agree that it is probably one of the more difficult things that I had to do psychologically was leaving that and rejoining the civilian world, because the mindset is different. The mentality, the work ethic. I mean, I'm not trying to put anybody down or anything like that. It's been my experience. So I think it's different, especially when you're talking about in the special warfare community. Everybody is operating at a high level. It's similar to guys that I know that I'm friends with, professional athletes, and they leave that world into the civilian world, and it's just that's not the same for them either. Same thing, cops and firefighters will talk about it. So I think it is difficult, and there's definitely an adjusting period. I went through an adjusting period, and I guess it's the best I can say about it. You keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you find a new purpose, I guess. And once you find a new purpose, then you're kind of redirected. So,
I'll just say, like, the fact that I'm on a podcast with these two guys, I think it's kind of says everything you need to know. Is that I tried to separate it when I first got out. It was a disaster for me and my health and who I am, and just embracing a combined version of myself that just accepts what I did is always going to be a part of me. It's just who I am. And then going forward, I want to integrate that in everything I can do as much as possible. And now I get to be on a podcast with guys who speak my language, and I love it. So I don't separate it. I tried that and it didn't work.
Yeah. The biggest adjustment for me, all the things you guys just said, but also like coming out of the military, jumping into the civilian world, like realizing that now I am not, work is not my life, and I'm just working to live, right? And I had a huge adjustment period, and like I think a lot of people in our shoes was a lot of self-medicating through booze for sure. And now I don't drink, and it's been the best thing I ever did for a lot of reasons. But yeah, there was definitely several years there where I felt like I was floundering, didn't really have purpose or direction, and luckily, I was able to get my head out of my ass and pull it together.
Look at you now. Holy crap.
Love the show. I'll be the first to admit I get into the fringe conspiracy. You guys ground out with facts and based INCREPs. I don't know that acronym. Incident reports? Got to be that. Have you discussed Candace Owens and the video of the shooter meeting a woman? We haven't seen that particular video. I haven't. Have you guys seen it?
I haven't seen it. Yeah, but I did pull it up on my other computer, so I intend to take a look at it.
MLK hit with someone around elevated position, no exit. Yeah, it was also hit him in the mandible. Again, so that's if it hits him. I don't know the exact angle, but also hit him in the jaw, which is one of the probably the most dense. I don't know, Dr. Chris, talk about that. You know what? You talk about
it. So I will say somebody commented on that, I think on the video on Monday, and disagreed that the mandible density, from the typical vertebra, that sort of thing. I mean, to be honest, I'm not going to try to bullshit it. I don't know the exact density of either of those bones, but I do know that you can take a pretty solid strike on the chin from some heavyweight boxers, and that bone doesn't break. So, I mean, if that gives you any indication.
So if there was an NDA, where does the harm come into play if manufacturer isn't exposed? Thanks. What he's talking about is, again, some speculation on my end, talking about concealed body armor. One of the things that I do believe, and I still believe that there's the most likely answer. And from what I keep going back to the video, and I see a round skip off the chest. It looks like a round skips off the chest. So this is what I've talked about, like speculating, why won't they talk about body armor? The other thing, too, is there is a potential word game going around. If you want to get semantic, all right, there's a difference between potential body armor and ballistic panels. So there's some of that. The problem or why there would even be a motive, forget about an NDA. If they had a business relationship, which has been speculated or at least said by Candace, that they had some business relationship with a body armor company, maybe they moved to a new one. I don't understand that whole thing. But I would say that if I had a business relationship with a body armor and that one of my employees, or even me, was wearing their body armor, and I died wearing that body armor, and some of the same things came into place, I would protect that company, because I think it's true that if it gets out that X company had body armor and it hit that body armor and potentially, Charlie Kirk still died, I don't think that body armor killed Charlie. I think that if he was wearing body armor, his chances of surviving a gunshot wound were greatly enhanced. I just think that basically, a lot of people die getting shot with body armor. They can't cover all areas. And I think if he did have body armor on at the time, if it hit him in the same spot that I believe that it hit him, the end result would be the same. So I think there's some of that going on. I think we'll probably potentially could find out in the trial if any of that's published. But I still do think that's the best explanation with what's going on there. So that's the answer to that. Chris?
So you're saying the FBI narrative is true. They got the right guy and the right weapon. Tyler is the shooter and the gun. No, I'm not saying that for myself 100% definitively. I'm saying based off the information we have, it's the best explanation so far. But I'm not saying that there's not foul play involved at all.
And we don't need, the FBI may have 3 other people in custody right now, and we don't know about it. They may have a different weapon. They haven't told us. We don't know what we don't know. That's part of the problem. But I agree with everything Chris says. We don't have enough evidence to say definitively, Tyler is the shooter. I don't see any evidence so far that says he's not. I haven't seen any evidence that I would say that the FBI is lying to us right now. And I see a lot of evidence that indicates that the other proposed theories don't make sense. What's your thoughts, Marcus?
I thought I almost got out of that one. I think everybody's calling me a Fed for trying to make sense of what we're being told, and I'm just debating: do I just make another video and just go all in and just try to basically? I see now that if I want to make my case, then I have to basically prove. I don't want to say prove wrong, but like George Webb, he has a completely counter position than I have. His mind is just looking in the complete opposite direction. Yeah. So I want to find the middle ground, and without people like Gary, like you told me from the beginning, people are gonna, if you just say one thing true that you agree with the FBI, all of a sudden people think you're a Fed, and I'm like, is this really the game we have to play? Maybe that's just is what it is.
It's I don't know what people want from us, right? It's do you want me to change my mind? Do you want me to just agree with you, even though I don't agree with you? Would you like me to reinterpret the evidence? I got to be true to myself. And again, I don't care if we got 5 people watching this or 1 billion. You're going to hear the exact same response out of me every single time if that's what I think. And the moment that I think differently, you guys are going to hear that. Some of the stuff I've played through in my head, just kind of a stream of consciousness and sharing it with you guys. So, whatever. Yeah. Look, we realize we're not going to please all people. We realize that this podcast, our channel, our thoughts aren't going to resonate with all people, and that's okay. God bless you. Hope you find the truth, and wish you the best. Might have missed you guys discussing this, but do you think videos of Tyler where we can see his slim build look the same as the photo of him they put out? The photo on him in all black just looks slightly different to me. Everything that I can see with the level of fidelity that we can see it, that looks, and again, I've worked in reconnaissance, surveillance. I see the same primary features in body build, in face, in all of those things. There are a bunch of AI images going around and kind of misconstruing this intentionally, where it shows a different person's face. So that is for a fact false, but that's all I can tell you.
George talked about that the FBI enhanced the photos. I don't believe that. I don't think the FBI would do that. I think that was a public thing and it got misconstrued. So I could be wrong, but that's
I'm going to read this one. This is for making me LOL at the comment. Marcus was sounding like a Fed. Loving these streams. Keep it up. Chris, take it.
When you get a chances you should do a breakdown of
Well, I
that
plan on
O'Keefe video. The rest is crazy, and there's more on O'Keefe's website about it too, I guess. Yeah, I agree. I want to take a look at it.
Look at Lauren, the mortician, for the autopsy report. I literally have it on another tab pulled up. I'm going to watch that as soon as we get off of this. Get Nick Irving, aka the Reaper, on here one day. I wouldn't mind having him on. Why release some propaganda but not autopsy? I don't know that we've seen propaganda released, and they're not going to release the autopsy. That is extremely important evidence that jurors are going to see that before it's shared with the public. Lewis Moe, thank you. I think Marcus just moved on from eating crayons to colored pencils. JK, Marcus needs LED lights like Gary and Chris have. Y'all are doing great.
Thanks for the jokes, Travis.
Stephen Gardner's recent video is good. He did go to the campus a week or so ago and walk the scene. He shows how easily accessible the roof is. Several people have. I was talking to Taylor on X. I'm trying to think of his last name. He has a really good. Let me find that son of a gun. He had some drone footage. Taylor Hansen. You guys go check out some of the drone footage that he released. We were talking on X. Taylor, you owe me a phone call. Give me a call, bro. Have your people call my people. And by my people, I mean me. Hold on, I almost skipped one. AI Omar. AI here. Got tracking number. Thank you for what you do. You're welcome, buddy. We had a giveaway the other day when we hit 200,000 subscribers. We're going to give away a bunch of stuff once we hit 300,000, so you guys make that happen. And we'll do a really big giveaway. It was like $4,000 or $5,000 worth of stuff we gave away the other day. Art, thank you. I was in the South African Army for 3 weeks, and I got out for I saw it as mass slaughter, not protecting the country. So you guys are built different. Fair enough. Let's talk about how the moon landing is sus.
Most key, man.
I find the moon landing super sus. I would love to have some. You know what? There's some guys that put out some really good content, very compelling content, and evidence to say that the moon landing is not real. And then there's guys that put out a lot of evidence saying it is real, and some other. I would love to see that debate happen. I don't think it's ever happened. Maybe we can get two guys on here and go through that and go through the facts. I go back and forth on it. I'll be honest. Same thing with Bigfoot. I don't know. Maybe Bigfoot went to the moon. I don't know what happened there. We'll hit a few lives and go from there. Moon is quite a feat and back first try. Sure is. Especially when Russia never could get it done. I'm also interested in knowing why TikTok deleted Andrew P's statement. Very interested what he's had to say. He's the hitman looking guy that was at Charlie's assassination. So I've talked to that guy on the phone. I posted this photo. I believe, yeah, it is. Andrew P, he has a Polish last name, or maybe it's a Czech last name. I posted this picture. He was the guy that looked like he had like a nitrile black glove. Come to find out he has a prosthetic. I talked to him on the phone. I contacted him. I found him on Twitter. I posted a picture on Twitter. Everybody was like, "Oh, this is the guy that did the." Well, come to find out, he was a big Charlie Kirk supporter. He's the guy that had an accident, has a prosthetic arm, and that's why his hand looks black. Moon landing is real. Plus, I'm sure there's a city up there. Probably, definitely on the dark side. Shot from behind a trigger device. Used time with loud decoy gun from roof. Drones filmed. The surveillance plan overhead. Security team equals sus. Cool. When I say feet, I mean 2025, not 1960s. Also agree. Autopsy will never be released until done so by his wife per law in Utah and manner of death. Look it up. Easy, fine, and nationwide. HIPAA would not allow, again, anyone to release the autopsy except wife. So that autopsy will be entered into evidence, right? It is Utah law that it won't be released to the public, but it will be entered into evidence, and we may find some information through discovery or she may allow that to be released. No one can predict when a bullet will do with any shot. No one can recreate any shot from a weapon. It's even from a weapon doing the shot will differ, even if they have exact execution. I agree with parts of this. It is very difficult to predict what a bullet can do. We're playing the law of percentages. There's the typical, what you're going to see, 80% of the time. And then there's some things on the edges, the other edges, 10%, 5%, 2%, that bullets definitely do weird things sometimes. So I agree with that. And it is very difficult to replicate anything, especially if you don't know what ammunition was used, the projectile was used, the muzzle velocity that they were getting out of that barrel. So there's a lot of variables there without a doubt. I wish I could ban this person, but it's not on my channel. Not that person, another person. Take that, Chris.
Pressure from outside logistics and raw materials and tariffs. The private sector is confused by the already complicated political situation. Many are releasing quality human resources. Yeah.
I think that's a good statement. I will just leave it at that. Marcus, for you.
Marcus J. Explain why people can face serious charges for spreading AI manipulated images of a wanted person, but the cops did it in this case.
Do what?
Making everyone accomplices. I mean, I'm not aware the cops did this, so
I'm not aware that anybody's facing serious charges for spreading AI images.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that either. So both those claims, if you could point me to a specific, instance, evidence, article that elaborates on either one of those things, I'll take a look. But both those things I think are baseless.
I mean, I'll hit that just a little bit because I believe there was one point in time where there was some celebrity AI photos that were being released, and they were attempting to press charges on the individuals that released them because, they were modified to make them nude and that sort of thing. So I think there's some legitimacy to that. I don't know whatever happened with it. But I agree with the second part that I don't know that the cops have done that so far. It seems like other people have done that in this situation.
Yeah. And I don't think there's any evidence the cops done that. All right, so this is again, it's come up a bunch, but I think it's worth repeating. I'm just confused how he made the shot after supposedly taking the gun apart and not being able to sight the scope in and off an older gun. All right, so you have an action, the barrel is attached to the action, and on top of that action goes the scope. You can leave that on. All right, you can leave that on. It can be sighted in. You put a buttstock, take the buttstock off or on. It doesn't affect any of the firing mechanism, really. It can affect harmonics. If we want to get real crazy, it can affect to some degree. That being said, you can also take a scope off, put it back on. At 140 yards, folks, I could bore sight a scope. And what I mean by that is put a brand new scope that's never been shot. I can go out there to my yard. I pull the bolt. I look down the barrel. This is how we bore sight a scope, get it initially on target. I can look down the barrel. I'm not saying he did this. I don't think he did this, but I just want to trying to make a point of how easy this is to make this shot. I can look down the barrel and I can see what I see through that barrel. And then what I do is I dial that scope down to where I have basically the same sight picture. If I'm looking at a dot on the chest of a man-sized target and I can see that through the barrel, I dial that reticle down to where that reticle's on the dot. And we're going to be within a 5-6 inches at most, just with bore sighting that gun. So also, it could be zeroed ahead of time. You could take the scope off, put it back on. We're still going to shoot. We're still going to make a hit at 140 yards. Or even better, we leave the scope on, we zero it, and then all we do is take off the stock, put it back on. We're going to be, if there's any deviation because of that, it's going to be so slight that it won't matter. Not 140 yards. We got a couple more. Oh God, let me see. Yeah, we hit that one. Let's talk about. Oh yeah, we hit that one. All right. Volunteers to be a mod if you guys need. Appreciate what you guys are doing. Great content. Let's keep the chat civil. Everyone can give you my socials to vet me if you'd like. I may take you up on that, BP. Why no charges for destroying the crime scene? Because they didn't destroy the crime scene. They completely processed the crime scene. And then once the FBI leaves and says, hey, we're good, I mean, it's still the property of UVU. They can do whatever they want with it. I don't understand where these assumptions come from. The Mythbusters proved the moon landing. Okay, the Mythbusters are feds. Just stop it. I'm joking. I'm halfway joking about the moon landings. I have my doubts. I'll say that.
I can hear halfway joke.
Apologies if you covered this. Has anyone tried to see if the shot trajectory was possible from the tent covering? Yes, we have. I've posted pictures of that. Also heard from Lead Call there was no autopsy. Is that true? Thoughts? So the shot was definitely, it was a clear shot. I've posted pictures of this. It's on my X, but I've done it on the live streams as well. And it's in a couple of my videos as well. The only thing you should be apologizing for is not watching my videos front to back. Gary, what are your thoughts? Or what do you know about the Giant of Kandahar? Supposedly, it was an A team that took it out. I would think that if that was real, it would make it through the Green Beret grapevine really quick. I haven't heard. I know what you're talking about. I watched, what's his name, Mr. Ballin. And I've watched some other. Look, all that stuff fascinates me. Ancient history. The idea that giants existed. I think there's probably some, like all that stuff. I'm a nerd for all that stuff, right? The Youngest Dryas event. I constantly watch any of that stuff, man. I eat that stuff up. So anyways, I haven't heard about it. Why is Nicole Kidman divorcing Keith Urban? Because he's prettier than her. Gary Taylor Swift poster behind you would be great. There's actually one right off camera right over there. So there's that. Well, listen, folks, I think tonight was awesome. I enjoyed it. I don't know about you guys, but I really enjoyed it. And I definitely enjoy having Chris and Marcus on. Again, I can't thank them enough. I think they contribute so much to this. Again, if you guys want to contact me, please send any emails to dlpodcast@paramountTactical.com. All the other contact information or socials for Chris and Marcus J. Allen are down in the description below. I'm looking forward to having Kyle Surfing on tonight. Maybe we'll get some more answers. Little by little, we're whittling this down and hopefully separating fact from fiction. And then once we're left with mostly fact, then we can make some determinations on what's real and what's not. That's all we can do. And so anyways, folks, appreciate all you guys tuning in. Appreciate all your comments. Appreciate all your support. We appreciate the super chats. Chris, you got anything else to say?
Nope.
Marcus?
I'm working on something. I got a new video angle that I think is pretty telling. So love to run it by you guys, and I'll also find a way once I put it together to make I think I want to make another video. So I think we need to discuss the moment of impact, and new angles show new details. So I'm working on that. Other than that, I just want to thank Gary for putting this on and leading the way here. It means a lot to me, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys soon. Okay.
This is the last one I'm going to take. It just popped up, so I will take it real quick. Curious on each of your thought on Candace Owens' investigation. She's on the warpath due to friendship, or is she doing a valid and fact-based investigation? Well, that's part of the problem is we don't know if she's doing a valid or fact-based operation, because we keep getting these videos where she says that makes really big claims and bombshells with zero evidence. We just need a little evidence from her. You guys agree with that?
I agree.
Yes.
I do think her friendship I think it would potentially cloud anyone in this situation with how high profile this was. Even we've talked about how this impacted us, and we didn't have the friendship with Charlie that Candace did. So I can only imagine what her mindset is. So I do think she potentially is clouded a little bit.
Yeah. And maybe not prosecuting this with the rigor that maybe she normally would. I don't know. I agree. Look, I like Candace. I think she needs to provide some receipts for something. Anyways, folks, we appreciate you tuning in. And until next time, stay armed, stay ready. We'll talk to you soon.